awesome your ex-husband is.
Bump it on down. Bump it on down.
I don't know. Probably live. There we go. We're live. This is so professional. I love it. Hold on. Wait. What am I doing? Oh, here we go.
Expect?
Oh, there you go. We're done. We're good. We're good. We're live, and we're live in consummate professional attitude and splendor. Respondent in all our give a damnness. What's the bottom line, folks? Data for the data god. I've learned one thing about the Google metrics, and I've learned one thing about the audience. You don't care what kind of CW you get, just as long as you get CW by the barrel full. So we're going to keep the party going yet again. Coming straight off our wonderful Friday night conversation with the one and only Darth Novello from Masters of the Illuminati. I dare say one of the most important broadcasts of information that you're going to get in this whole conspiracy theory clusterfuck, joyful world that we live in. But tonight we're going to keep the party going with a conversation with some old faces, some old friendly faces that you've seen around the channel before. And if you're tuned into this world, you've undoubtedly seen them in many other places as well. In no particular order, I'll look. Hey, the baby whose eyes look like mine, to my Michael Jackson. We got DG Dave here with us. DG, how you doing tonight, baby?
Doing good. Glad to be here.
I'm very glad to have you here. He's a careful offset to my normal everyday insanity. So we got him here, and that's beautiful. We're good that he's here. Hopefully one of these days I'll get, I plug, at this point I can say that I've plugged DG Dave's YouTube channel more times than he's uploaded videos to his YouTube channel.
That's true.
That's absolutely true. You know what I mean? And hey, but we're glad to have him here anyway, by the way, and subscribe to him. It might very well prompt him to want to put something up there. We'll also have a chance to say hi to some people in the live chat. Always wonderful to see people in the live chat. And going down the list, we got Reemsy. My absolute, you know what I mean? I wouldn't say this if it weren't true. My personal favorite YouTube content creator. Reemsy is whether you love Kiss or Geritol. I've said it before and I said it again without a touch of irony. There's not even a shadow, a speck of dust of irony in the following statement. I think that Reemsy's Geritol video belongs in the Smithsonian as the example of what it. I mean, I don't know what it is about this video, but his Geritol video, I swear to God, is like the Citizen Kane of YouTube, as far as I'm concerned. I could write a dissertation. One of these days, if I got off my ass and decided to write a dissertation about it, fantastic. So if you're not subscribed to Reemsy, I have no idea what you're doing with your life. Honestly, subscribe to Reemsy. This is a guy that's going to put on a tuxedo for a book review or a review of Cologne. This is a guy you got to subscribe to, and I'm so happy that he's here. He's one of these guys. If he shows up to the hangout, if it's you, him, and pick a weirdo, you're gonna have a good old time. So we're in for a ride. We're gonna have a hell of a time, regardless. And look, last but not least, we got Jerry Cthulhu, the one and only Jerry Cthulhu as well, standing shoulder to shoulder amongst the giants and the gods. Fresh off appearance on you've seen him on make a rando appearances on such luminous YouTube conspiracy channels as Off Planet Media. He's doing a fantastic. He's got a fantastic show, Nox Mente, all involving the analysis and the discussion of dreams and dream states. That's absolutely fantastic. Subscribe to all of his YouTube channels. And don't worry, if it's a weeknight or a weekend night, chances are that Jerry Cthulhu is filming yet another 8-hour stream. You know what I mean? Whether it's cloud cover or cloud cover through some young man's mind.
I just can't help.
He just can't help it.
I can't help it.
You know what I mean? And
I got all my moon filming in before the.
There you go.
So
Well, you know what I think the real deal is we're taking them down from the inside. Google, ABC Corp turns to the world that says, "Don't worry, we've got cloud computing and cloud storage that can handle the biggest website in the world. And don't worry, if everyone wants to stream 8 hours a day, that's fine. We've got the capacity, we got the bandwidth, and in fact, if you want to stream 16 hours a day, we'd be even happier with that." And to which we say,
Here we go.
"We'll take you up on your fucking challenge." You know what
There's
I mean?
lots of people streaming 24/7. So
Absolutely. Justin TV, what? You know what I mean? There's a glut of. I've said it before. I've said it a couple of times, but I think it bears worth repeating. Andy Warhol's precognition was only semi-flawed. He said back in the day, in the future, everybody's going to be famous for 15 minutes. I don't think he was correct. I think what it really should be, and I'm not the first guy to come up with this line.
YouTube famous for 15 minutes?
Not even. In the future, everybody's going to be famous to 15 people. Right? We all have our 15, the people that tune in, is he brushing his teeth? God, I can't get over this guy. Listen, look at my glowing review of Reems's Geritol video. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
The NSA got a click at Central Command, and they're like, this means something.
I like the werewolves one. That was pretty good too.
The werewolves one is good. Listen, as far as I'm concerned, Geritol is like, I started taking Geritol. You know what I mean? It's like talking about pod people reactions. I was like, I should take Geritol.
If Geritol was not an effective product, I only endorse things that I wholeheartely believe in, and I take Geritol every day.
How is it as an enema additive?
Jerry,
no.
I'm asking for a friend.
Oh, sure.
Honestly.
Haven't you ever taken Geritol?
No, I haven't.
Oh, you should. You'll feel better.
I'm probably old enough now too, as well.
You can take it at any age. That's a myth. Anybody can benefit from Geritol. If you're 5 years old or 50 years old, you will feel better if you take Geritol.
What's in it?
It's like taking a shot of whiskey. It's got a really strong alcohol content. But I don't know what else is in it. But
Nobody does.
Take a shot or two of it every day.
You know what it is? It's the one medication that apparently made it through the FDA sweep when they took all the products that all the snake oil that had cocaine in it or 90% morphine. Geritol, for whatever reason, it's I guess there was enough people at the FDA, the burgeoning scene at the FDA, whatever, that were already on the stuff. They were like, well, Geritol, my doctor told me to take it.
We can't ban this.
You know what I mean? Shut up! I've got iron poor blood. Mom, Geritol, whatever. But you know what I mean. So that's probably it. But what I'm also thinking on the notion of precognition is, remember that old '80s movie, The Stuff?
Yeah,
you guys remember that one? It was the killer yogurt. It was this new product came out. It's is it yogurt? Is it custard? Is it what is it?
Fluff?
Is it pudding? Yeah, exactly. It was called The Stuff. And the whole notion of this stuff was that it was basically an alien life form that had found out that the most successful way to take over the world was to get itself marketed by people that could eat you from the inside or whatever it was. But now I'm thinking there's what it was predictive programming for the onslaught that is Geritol. You know what I mean?
Geritol might be black goo.
Listen, there's not impossible to believe. Meanwhile, what's the over-under on at least one person in the live chat or one person who's going to end up tuning into this program, being down at CVS or Kroger's or Walgreens, going past the aisle and being like, Geritol, no. And taking the plunge. You know what I mean?
I can't wait to go get some myself.
Well, that's it. That's the next step. It's going to be a taste test. We'll see what happens.
That would be funny.
And answering Rezone Bay's question from the live chat, CW, is the stream named after a 90s emo band? Partially. So here's the deal. Here's where we started off. And I also see Xenomorph drop the two big watchwords emanating throughout the zeitgeist: dragon energy. So this is good. It brings us right to a crux. We go right out of Geritol and we do a hard left into the mystery of today's show. So here's the deal. There's a man by the name of Ayin. He's been on my live streams before. He has his own YouTube channel that you'll see linked in the description below called You Don't Know, tilde, question mark. He is now apparently, the word on the street is that he's got some official involvement with the Miles Johnston's Bases Project and is started like a Texas branch of it. So whatever. So we wanted to get him on the stream tonight. He had told me that he was going to be available, so I sent him the link, and we're going to see. I sent him about 8:15. I said to him, I said, "Hey, buddy," I said, "I'm going to do a live stream in about an hour. You down? You be interested?" And he said, with such passion, Anthropos is the kind of guy that when he sends you a one-sentence email, you can like hear the Randy Savage inflection and energy, and he was like, "I'm in, count me in!" Exclamation point. And
Bump it on down.
I don't care how awesome your ex-husband is.
Bump it on down.
I was like, "Fucking A, all right." And I knew he's at Texas, and I knew that DG Dave was going to be with us tonight, who might be from Texas. I don't know. So I said, "Oh, well, I'm going to name the show." And then I remember that old great band, Texas is the Reason, and we decided to name the show that. The only thing that would be better if I got off my duff, went over to my Skype, and sent an invite to the old school crowd, Sam Hunter. Remember Sam Hunter? From back in the day. Back in the day, Sam Hunter was on my channel. If that name doesn't ring a bell, that means you're just too new to the show, and you got to realize we've been doing this shit since 2015. So if you're just like getting on the CW bandwagon now, there's no we've got you covered. Just hit autoplay and go on a trip till tomorrow. You're gone. See you then. So we'll see if he actually shows. If he actually shows, that will be brilliant. If he doesn't, it'll be a shame. But God willing, the creek don't rise. I got my fingers crossed that Anthropos is going to show up and educate us. That would be brilliant. And if he doesn't, like I said, we got an illustrious cast with us here tonight. We got an illustrious lineup of real, live human beings. I've said it before, and I'll say it again, and then I'll throw it to my compadres to see what they feel like talking about tonight. But is this: the solution to mainstream media is not alternative media. It's no media. It's no media. You don't need a contact in the desert. You don't need ancient aliens. You don't need any of this pre-programmed television bullshit. You don't need Alex Jones. You don't need Styx Hexenhammer 666. You need to realize
nobody needs Alex Jones.
Nobody needs that. All you need is other live human beings who you can meet on the internet and talk to. And then after you're done doing that, get off your duff, go outside like your mom and dad told you to do, and meet some real people. And we're going to plug on Stellar. We're definitely going to have to plug on Stellar tonight. Jerry, do you have your on Stellar account set up?
I thought that was related to the Stars Academy.
No, I think it's Sphere Being Alliance. I think it's Sphere Being Alliance.
That's even worse.
Jimmy Church was pushing it. Corey Good was definitely pushing it. So apparently it's going to be the social media. Speaking of Alex Jones and that, remember when Alex Jones tried to start a social media?
Remember when George Norrie did?
I don't remember what George Norrie. That's like taking it back to like
8.com.
That's like an AOL chat room way to come back in the heat of the night. You know what I mean? George Norrie. Topic of conversation, Geritol. First of all, we beat him to the punch. He's probably sitting back there going, he's like, my Geritol thread is dying here. And this guy C.W.Chanter is scoring 17 hits with it. What are we doing wrong?
He's probably not allowed to talk about it. It's probably a Johnston & Johnson product.
It probably is, you know what I mean? George Norrie, that bought and paid for shell. Ayin Thropos is an individual who, back in the day, this is like going back to like a year ago. We were in a live chat, and it was me, Dave, Raksha was there. Suzanne might have been there as well.
You were there. Yeah, Suzanne was there.
Suzanne. Jerry might have been there. I can't remember, but it was back in the day, and all of a sudden there was a guy in the live chat who was basically like, fuck C.W.Chanter, he's talking all this bullshit, this fucking motherfucker, da 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 da.
Oh, I remember now.
Right? And I said immediately, I was like, put the fuck, this is back in the day when we were so small potatoes, not that we're huge now, but we were so small back in the day that we could just literally put we would have to in order to get guests, right? Half the people that I met online, I met because I'd be doing a live stream and I would just throw the invite into the live chat. And he came on fucking furious. And he came on like ready to go. He was like, fucked up, and he's like, if you've met him, he's got a very, very intense energy. And he came on and he immediately came after me. And then he came after Raksha like hard. And Raksha was like, stop. Like, and it was like all of a sudden, and I went into this elaborate speech. But the best thing was like, he calmed down once we just started talking to him. He calmed right the fuck down and told us exactly what was going on.
Now, wasn't he OTO? Is that the guy?
He was OTO, and his family started the deep state or whatever. But what was yeah. What was really interesting about it was that he was saying that he had just done a basis project for Miles Johnston, and I immediately thought to myself, that's never going to fucking air because you don't have a vagina.
I checked for that thing for weeks. Did it ever air?
It did, like months and months later.
I literally would check every week for that thing because I was interested to see it.
Are we sure that he just didn't string together a bunch of questions from Miles and put him in?
No, he started doing that later. That's something he started doing later. The other thing that he did before he was even on Miles Johnston's Basis Project, he was on the Leak Project. The Leak Project
for a while
with Rex Bear, and when he was on the Leak Project, he was very intense, and he was talking. He was telling the story about sacrificing a goat in Mexico, and he literally started running around with I guess he was like tuning in by his phone or a tablet. He started running around his artist space wherever he was, going He's like, I was going crazy, and I was like hiding under a bush, and I was like, no, and the spirit of the ghost tried to get me, and I was like, no, I don't want to kill him. But then I did it. And it was like he was asking Rex Bear for some sort of like absolution.
But wasn't that on like some kind of a tour? Like you pay the money, you get on the bus, and you go out and sacrifice a goat?
That kind of sounded like what was happening. But I'm not here to take another man's, especially when I'm trying to get him on to go onto the chat. But whatever. But he then for a million years he was doing whatever, and he started doing it. Finally came out with his own, and then he was plugging his YouTube channel. And then when you went to the YouTube channel that he was plugging, it was like an advertisement for like a condo. Like it was bizarre. Like, and I
seem to remember a really entertaining video where it's him and I think his girlfriend or somebody. They're like out in the woods chasing some kind of entity.
Yes. Yeah. And then he did that.
That was good.
I know. Look, 8:39. Count me in! ! Okay. Then I sent him the invite, and then I sent him. Let me write this down. Hold on, what it says. I'm gonna try it again. Wait, hold on. Okay.
Have you called him Ayin every time you've said his name tonight?
I think so.
Or have you said Ayin too?
Did I misname him? Did I?
No, I'm not. I'm just curious which one it is.
I don't really know.
Because that's the second time y'all have mentioned him tonight, and I haven't known who you're talking about. Because you sent me in a DM his name, and you misspelled it, and I'm like, who the hell's that?
Broadway.
So is it Ayin, or we're not quite sure?
I think it's Ayin.
Okay, well maybe he could come on and we'd really know for sure.
Where is he? Because you think he'd be tuned in. Whatever. So anyway, so we're trying to get him in.
I'll show you this. This is what I want. I found what I wanted to show you before. I made a World of Warcraft character after him.
Nice.
I can't show it though, but I'll send you the picture, and you can show it because it's worth it.
Right. And then he was also telling, the reason I really wanted to talk to him is that he was telling people that he was taking over, that he got an official, I guess, license or franchise for the Basis Project in Texas from Miles Johnston, who was giving up the ghost. But, and he even filmed the video today saying, Basis Texas Project, whatever, won. But I can't find the guy.
Has there been any kind of official endorsement of that Basis Texas?
Of course not. The guy didn't. The Basis Project with Anthropos didn't even air until months after he was talking about it being filmed.
But I mean, it did air
Eventually, yeah. But I don't know.
Well,
you know what I mean? But that's the thing, is that if you've got intense energy that bespeaks a person who was actually fucked up by aliens, you don't get booked twice on these programs, unless it's Alfred Lambert Weber. For the most part, these people are looking for people that are good-looking people that have professional attitude and can speak in a measured and advertiser-friendly way. Those people get booked and rebooked all the time, especially if you're a good-looking gal, right?
Does Miles Johnston have a Patreon?
I don't know if he's got a Patreon. I'll tell you what he is doing.
I'm looking right now.
Yeah. He complains about money all the time, and more, and it became a topic of conversation that I brought up a couple of times. Here he is. We were just talking about you, brother.
Hey.
He's here. The man, the myth, the legend.
Yeah.
We've been talking you up all night.
Things set up here.
Take your time, brother. Take your time. Okay. Here we go. We've been waiting for you all night.
Hey, looking all around. Oh, it's C.W.Chanter. What's up, buddy?
What's going on, my man? What's going on? I'm glad we finally got you here, man. Glad we finally got you here.
Yeah, I didn't miss it, did I?
Well, we've been at it for a bit of time. You know what I mean? I sent you the invite like an hour ago, so you missed something. Well, I mean, hey, did you miss it? No, because you didn't miss it because you're here now. So whatever is meant to be is meant to be, and however it comes together, comes together.
That's right. Who all's with us tonight?
We got DG Dave, who I know you met before.
How's it going?
We got my man Reemsey, Greg, who you may or may not have met before. I don't know if you met him before. And we got Jerry Cthulhu, who you may have met before. I'm not sure.
Yeah, my friend.
What's up, buddy? How you doing?
Hey, pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you.
What's the correct way to pronounce your name?
Ayin.
Ayin. Okay.
Ayin. Yes, at your service.
Well, hey, listen, we're at your service too. And because I don't want anything to happen where it looks like we were talking back behind your back, we were waiting for you. I did talk about you at the beginning of the show, and I did talk about you. We were just talking about you now in our attempts to I guess, get the energy out there. And we did. We talked about your appearance on Miles Johnston. We talked about your appearance on the Leak Project, and we talked about you have an intensity. And I'm going to be straight with you. I've talked about your channel. You don't know. If you look at the description below, you'll see the link to Ayin's YouTube channel. You can check it out and subscribe because you're doing more and more stuff every day, right? You're doing more stuff.
Thank you.
What's going on? So what's going on? We were talking about the discrepancy. We knew that you had filmed a Basis Project with Miles Johnston back in the day, but we do know that it took a long time before it actually showed up on the Basis Project proper. And I know that I saw today that you've got a video up that basically says like the Texas chapter of the Basis Project or whatever is going on. So do you want to fill us in what's happening? First of all, why was there such a lag between when you and Miles first recorded and when it got uploaded? And what do you think that's about? And what do you think? What's your inside take on Miles Johnston now? And what's the story with the Texas Basis Project? Is it an official franchise? Are you punk rocking it? Are you taking over? What's the deal? What's the story?
Yeah, right. All good questions. And first of all, let me stipulate, yes, you know that I got interviewed on the Basis Project back in the fall of 2016, and yet you didn't see the video until June of 2017. Well, it's because it wasn't the same video. It was okay on my end, except all I had, I think, was just the audio. But Miles Johnston, for some reason, the audio was bad on his end. And I think he thought about wrestling with it for a while and everything, but then he decided, no, it's just not worth it. And he redid the interview. So it was a completely different, when the interview came out, it was only like less than a week old. So it was a completely new interview. And I still have the audio portion of the original interview, which might be good for an archive or something later. But it just so happens the interview that I did with Miles in June of 2017 was like weeks after I had my Kundalini awakening, which was totally unprepared for, uncalled for, wasn't in the market for it or anything. And it was a profound experience.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So is this Kundalini awakening? Was this a different experience, a different series of historical events from the events that you were talking about when you were on the Leak Project, talking about your experiences with the shaman in Mexico?
Yes. I'm different. I'm still the same person, but I am different since then. And there's some things that even a couple of friends of mine that I related this story to got mad at me because one person thought that I was possibly being a psychic lady had undue influence on me. And the other person, who was my attorney, he still is my attorney, and he sits on the board of directors of my corporation. He was mad because he was wrestling with the idea that he thought that I might have been making this up, what I was telling him, not necessarily about the Kundalini awakening, but there were several events that was a confluence of events that happened that I think all had played a part in this. And it was that I had just had a date, my first date with one of the most beautiful women in the world, who I just broke up with several weeks ago. But even though we were really just only technically best friends, and this person, I'm not going to give her identity, but she's a 26-year veteran of the Hollywood movie machine. She's worked, on movies that you've heard of, like Predator,
Is it Sean Young?
Spy Kids, and stuff like that.
Is it Sean Young?
No. She's not an actor. She's in these movies I'm naming. She was a costume designer. And please, if you look her up on IMDb, please don't just blurt out her name, but you'll be able to easily find her. But she is a director now, and she, did a movie in Brazil last year. Anyway, so when I went out with this lady that I had known for 31 years, and she was kind of an archetype to me back in Lubbock, we did have sex. I will tell you this, for the first time, that evening. She is amazingly beautiful, way too pretty for me. And she told me that first evening that she was anointing me. And I thought that was strange. Okay. And it also, another one of the events that was taking place at this time is I was under a doctor's care and I was being treated with anabolic steroids. So when Miles Johnston saw me the second time, I'd put on like about 10 pounds of solid muscle. So, we know that this can, even if it's under a doctor's care, it can, that can have an influence on you. But so there was other things that were happening, and I was doing these extreme workouts with my trainer, who's also this beautiful lady, and she trained me at different gyms around town. She's very expensive, but they had to take me to gyms where no one was around because I yell so loud that the whole building shakes. And so even though it's only just a meme, or an idea, it's, I just toyed with the idea. Of course, I was not being tortured, but it was just kind of reminiscent. And it was kind of weird because like the place where we usually did it, which was Atomic Athlete, is where all the special forces personnel in Austin, Texas, most of them work out at. So there's lots of strange things about it. But after a really brutal workout, I went home and I went to sleep during the afternoon for a nap with my little dog. And a couple hours later or whatever, I woke up crying uncontrollably. And that was very bizarre for me because I knew for sure I had cried my last tear, at least a decade before that. And I did not even know what I was crying about. I wasn't sad or depressed about anything. And it was tripping me out because I literally could not stop crying. And so I reached out to Kira, my friend, who's another friend from Lubbock that I've also known 31 years, who I thought was into some new agey stuff because she had been doing a radio show with these people from Houston, and they had Emmanuel N. Gerard, this lady from Europe who talks to dead people. And this shit is absolutely real. Immediately, she started asking me some questions. She asked my permission to do something. I didn't really think it was too much serious. But that lady, that was the first time she moved energy in my body physically from over 1,000 miles away. Like over the telephone. She claimed that it was actually my guides doing it. And it was one of the most profound things that's ever happened to me in my life. And it's happened at least twice since then as me being her client. And I can, just see the light bulbs going off in your head and all the questions. And I'm not sure that I can answer them, but I will tell you that right now I do have, I don't use Kira as much anymore, but I have 3 psychics. And one of these psychics that I have is easily one of the most powerful psychics in the nation. And then another one is Christopher S. Jacobs, who I've interviewed on my show several times, and I now have him on once a month. And he came to my attention through being on a show called Understanding Sasquatch, in which he is the guy who has psychic communication with these Bigfoot.
Well, he's got psychic communication with you. He might as well be willing at that point to have psychic communication with something smaller like Bigfoot, right?
Yeah.
You dig it? No, man.
Does he talk to little baby Bigfoots too?
Yes, and I'm glad you asked that, Jerry. Because check this out, and I'm not saying some of the things like, for instance, some of the guests I have on my show, I don't just have somebody on just because I'm endorsing them or saying I believe them. For Christ's sakes, I've had a show recently that was the man from the future. Okay, no, I don't believe he was from the future, and I had another guy that was a vampire, and actually, I don't believe he was a vampire, but it turns out there was a guy who was kind of like his handler that probably was some. Here's my theory on this. I'm not trying to lose validation or anything, but how can you know where the edge is unless you push the envelope? And then you got to step over it every once in a while, to know. And I'll tell you right now that I don't believe those guys, even though I was a good host and everything like that. But those are really the only 2 shows I've had I'm approaching 100 videos now. I'm probably over 90 videos now, all, and I know, CW, you got a shit ton of videos, but I remember a year and a half ago or something like that when you announced that you had put up your 200th video, and that was before all the streaming and stuff. So
it's before you know it. You're blinking if you're working and you're working it. Before you know it, you're going to look at that and be like, whoa, who's right. Andy Jackson? We got someone new joined in. Andy Jackson.
It's John.
Oh, it's John. Okay, fantastic. There you go. I was scared that we got invaded by the Kekistani army. You know what I mean? Who knows? Well, and a shout out to Andrew Jackson. Why not? So, Ayin, I mean, knowing you and knowing your history, there's a whole bunch of different things going on. It goes to show you that it's still. As you're exploring this, and as you're like me, I mean, when I came to this, there's plenty of people on YouTube who say, I know this, and I'm this, and I've got this accreditation, and I've got this history, and I'm still a work in progress. I say, I've got no answers. I've got questions. You know what I mean? So, but you have this in your life. We already see that, you're interacting with Miles Johnston, and you're in flux. You're having new experiences. You're having different experiences. Did we lose Ayin? We lost Ayin, man. That's a shame. He'll come back. God willing, if the creek don't rise, he'll come back, because that was headed something interesting.
Something.
We'll find it. It'll come back again, just as it was going to get. Well, look, if we now we don't go, but God doesn't close the door on your foot without opening a window to let a peeping Tom in. Andy, how you doing, my friend?
Says he's stuck in limbo. I think there he is. Oh, there's Ayin.
Now we got Ayin back. Maybe the new member of our chat might be assessing the lay of the land, going, "What has Jerry Cthulhu got me involved in here?"
Yeah, and I figure out what's going on. I lost y'all there for a second.
It happens, man. Technical difficulties happen. If you drop, just hit the link again, and we'll get you back in.
All right. So go ahead and continue with your question, brother.
So you're in flux and you're doing different things, and you've had experiences with Miles Johnson and Miles Johnston, and now we know that you started talking about the Texas Bases project. Is this like an authorized franchise? I mean, what is Miles Johnson's involvement with it, or is it just a different project like there's Project Camelot, there's Bases Project? Are you doing something different with it?
And that's a great question. It's somewhere in between there. And I don't know if I mentioned, I am being interviewed by Miles this week with my new co-host that I just got out of a modeling group here in Austin. She's amazingly beautiful. And the thing is,
you and Miles Johnson are birds of a feather. Can I say something? Listen, I'm going to call it out because you know what I mean? Like any good journalist, follow your nose, right? Follow your instincts. And I got to tell you, listening to you, we've got Kundalini experiences, we got goats in the wilderness, and we've got Wang Bang Poon Tang. What's up with you and the beautiful women? Are they leading you to good places, or they've got this undue influence on you, man?
It's a direct result of my Kundalini awakening. I swear to God, man, I became, it's like you hear that these people that are under mind control or whatever that become hypersexualized. That's what happened to me, man. I don't understand it. It's weird.
Well, it's weird. It might be weird, or it might be the oldest story in all of creation, right? Adam created, God created Eve from Adam's rib, and Adam spent the rest of his time trying to figure out if the rib was lonely and wanted another one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, but anyway, so you're going to be interviewed with Miles Johnston again?
Yeah, I'm meeting with Miles this week, and he has given me his blessings on Bases Texas. Not only privately, but in public. He's given me his blessings on this.
Okay, he's done it publicly.
Yeah, and the reason is, and I don't think anyone really believes that the Bases project will go south or go under, but that's what he's claiming. I'm just turning the speaker on. That's what he is claiming. And due to financial pressure and financial duress, and I believe that there's people that think he's a millionaire and he's just raking it in and stuff. And that's not true. He's working a job, doing filming sports, soccer games and shit. He's not getting rich off this shit, but Miles is and I respect the hell out of him, but he's of the old guard where all these people are looking for the bad guy. Well, we ask ourselves, what's one thing all these bad guys have in common? Money. They've all got money. So somehow in our little conspiracy genre over here, it's this cardinal sin. If you make a dime doing this, then you're a sellout. You're a troll, or whatever, an agent provocateur. And that's one of my missions, and has been from the very beginning, to just totally refute that idea. And one of the main differences Bases Texas is it's a for-profit YouTube channel and accompanying website, and the website's already up, and the not the YouTube channel but the Facebook page.
Okay, so that's a great point of conversation. So look, I mean, so what you're saying is that I've often been an advocate of the different position to say that when you look at some of these organizations that are doing it in a profit oriented way, or are trying to, or monetizing their content, that this is problematic, because when we're talking about the things that we're talking about and the seriousness of the subjects that we're trying to explore, it seems to me dangerous to run the risk, even if it's not actualized with the individual people, even if people have the best of intentions, of running the risk of making decisions about who you promote or who you don't promote based on, hey, welcome, John. How you doing?
CW, doing well.
Thank you. Beautiful. That it's dangerous to introduce the almighty dollar into it, because even if the people have the best of intentions, it might have an undue influence on what story gets promoted, what angle is explored, or what angle is not explored. I often say that, we live in a world where in most major cities, there are support groups for people who feel as though they have had interactions with extraterrestrials. And some of them are touchy-feely groups where people are talking about the Space Brothers and their wonderful experiences with their hybrid children on, Ice 9 or whatever. But a lot of them are people that are talking about really hardcore abduction experiences, and they're shaken up and their voices crack and their hygiene may have taken a hit here or there. They might be the type of person that an outsider might look at them and say that they're mentally unstable, whether it's the result of that's why they were picked by the aliens, or that's why they had this experience in their head, or that's what happens to you after you have these traumatic experiences.
It was the RH negative blood.
Right, or whatever the case may be. But those people don't often get promoted on these bases, Project Camelot, or Contact in the Desert. But who does get promoted are the Alex Colliers and the Corey Goods of the world, who are going to tell you, or it's Dr. Stephen Greer, who will tell you all these wonderful stories about these benevolent people and creatures who are here to take care of us, and yada, yada. And my question to you would be, is that is there that risk? And should we, when we look at the problems in mainstream media, we often talk about corporate ownership and corporate control influencing the storyline. And in a world where anyone and their mother can do whatever research they want to do, thanks to the wonder of the internet, and thanks to the power of the internet and things like YouTube, Facebook groups, Google Hangouts, whatever, who needs to have a profit motive? What's the problem with working a day job, filming soccer games? If you're really in it for the information and the data, why not go the volunteer route? Or why make such a big deal about constant appeals for money when the money is go for what do you need? Like Miles Johnston, what does he fucking need money for? Like, honestly, like, do you need money to do the Basis Project?
No, not for the Basis Project, but I want more money. I make my living as a real estate investor, and so I have a comfortable living. I'm right here in my luxury townhome right now, brand new townhome here in Pflugerville, Texas. But I want more money. And I'm not, and people might say that I'm, motivated by profits, or even worse, that I'm an attention seeker, somehow motivated, by fame or something like this. And I'm not even going to try to refute that. I did, as a young person, I wanted to be a rock star and all this stuff, so I enjoy the whole showbiz, aspect of all this. But I absolutely have been a conspiracy theorist, hardcore conspiracy theorist, but literally before the term was even coined, literally.
Well, the term was I understand where you're coming from, but can I be honest and say the term conspiracy theory was probably coined before you were a twinkle in your old man's pants. You know what I mean?
I know it. I'm kind of stretching the truth a little bit. You weren't supposed to call me out on that one.
That's what she said.
Yeah, I know. I'll retract that statement a little bit.
No, I can't do brother. I can't.
Is that my book is on sale now, so there's no shame in selling your own book. And my book can be purchased for $8 as a download on my website. And you know about my book, right?
Can I do the audiobook version?
Yeah,
I'll do that. That's a promise.
You can buy it right now. I'll tell you if you want. I'll tell you the name of my book. Do you know the name of it?
No, tell me.
The name of my book is, and this is my third book, but it's the first one I've had that's on sale and everything. And the name of my book is "My Family Created the National Security State," and then in parentheses, "No need to thank me."
Well, there's no need to thank you, because if your family did it, why the fuck am I thanking you, right? That's like thanking Donald Trump Jr. from Trump Enterprises, right? That's his old man has got to blame for that. I'm kidding you, man. I'm kidding.
So I know. But all I'm trying to say is audacious and far out as that claim sounds, it's a fifth grader can prove it, because it's not even top secret information. You could just, one of y'all could just sit there and look at it look on up that quick. And the truth is that the American government, even back in the 20th century, I don't know how it runs now. I don't think anybody does. But in the 20th century, in the 1900s, it did not run like what most people thought it did. And the thing is, my father's uncle, my great uncle, the late congressional leader, George Mahon, controlled every dime of the United States defense budget for over 40 years. He controlled the purse strings, everything for Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and he even created a few organizations that you may have heard of with names like the NSA, the CIA, the FBI, and NASA. Operation Paperclip, MK Ultra, all that shit. Go down the list. It was all created by my great uncle.
Your great uncle.
Yeah, well, he used Americans' taxpayers' money to pay for all these things. He controlled the purse strings of these things, and I'm not bragging about it, and I'm not ashamed about it. I think that he had some hard decisions to make, but I think we can assume that he was somebody that was in the know.
Okay, well, I mean, look, the data is out there. You've got your book is available, for download on your website. And I know you've talked about some of this information when you appeared on the Leak Project and the Bases Project. But I mean, to open it up and to make sure that we're not just, talking to ourselves, but we're allowing, feedback from other people in the group. Has anybody heard anything that Ayin has talked about so far that you find interesting or would want to discuss? Whether it's from like like what you said about the making money thing. I think some of that might have implications for theological concerns like the popularity of the prosperity gospel, but also everything that you said about, your great uncle forming the NSA or having to do all these involvement with these things in the deep state, might run contrary to other information that people have been taught or feel that they've discovered in their travels or their research.
Hey, Ayon, I knew of your work. I've actually followed your work for a little bit of time. And I initially came across your videos that you did on Josh Reeves, who I'm personally in contact with. Your videos on him about what his issues that he was having with Bell's palsy, which have seemed to resolve themselves. And I do want to appreciate you getting that information out there, because not a lot of people knew about it, and not a lot of people were spreading that information out there about him. So I do want to first off thank you for that.
You're welcome.
But I mean, as far, what do you think of Josh Reeves' work? First off,
let me tell you, I couldn't be more happy that you brought that up, because that's really something I really want to talk about. And Josh Reeves, and let me tell you, first I'll tell you, I don't think Josh Reeves likes me. I'm just going to make a little confession here. And all of these people, like I interviewed Ole Demigard recently. And so I've got some people that I've interviewed. And of course, I don't never offer people money for these interviews. But Josh Reeves, I happen to know a little bit about his financial situation, and he needs money desperately. His shows on YouTube have more or less digressed into him getting out there and lambasting people and accusing people of trying to steal his information and everything every week. But now he's finally gone to where he sells half of his show. But I will tell you this, Josh Reeves has discovered things that no other researcher has discovered. His Spellcasters 1 is earth-shaking in its implications, and Spellcasters 2 promises to be that and more. And he has also uncovered the ugly fact that when you get to a certain level in this game, you basically, I don't know how they do it, but it's the age-old offer of lead or gold.
Tap on the shoulder. They give you a little tap on the shoulder, so they say.
Yeah, and so the
Rogan tap.
They've all taken the gold, and I think they let them go with their own narrative. They say you can talk about this. I don't know how it works. But I absolutely believe that's true. And some of the oldest ones that we trust or used to trust implicitly, and I'm not talking about Alex Jones, but he's even had, I don't want to name too many people, but he's had spiffs and stuff like that with Michael Tessarian and some others. And I believe Josh Reeves. He's the last of the Mohicans. He's the only one that outright refuses to be bought out or coerced or anything like that. And he doesn't like me, and he turned down. I didn't offer him very much money. It was just like only about $125 for like about a 45-minute interview, but also only talk about the Rockwall at Rockwall, Texas, because he talks about things that I don't discuss on my show, like pedophilia and Pizzagate and stuff like that. I don't talk about that shit. But what he's discovered, and now other people have talked about this Hollywood machine and how important it is. So that's kind of not new news. But he's done a big part of that. But Scientology, what I found out about Scientology from him has rocked my fucking world, dude. I mean, it's not what people think it is. We're led to believe that it's a bunch of loonies, and all this shit. And yes, they do control their. Listen, the Scientology offers services to foreign nations and shit like that. Yep. They do remote viewing, remote influencing, remote assassinations. They are fucking serious. They have people within their ranks that have true power. Now they have these upper levels called the OT levels. And I couldn't help but notice that those two levels bear the same two letters in the order that I'm in, which I think y'all know which. I'm in a secret society.
But Elrond took it further, and they opened themselves up as vessels for the Thetans, or some great Thetan. I forget the exact story there, but basically letting themselves get possessed by a spirit.
Assuming that these spirit sciences work, and assuming that you can that you need to separate the truth from the fiction. Whether you're an insider or an outsider, someone who's studying Scientology has to figure out whether or not they are messing with some true powerful stuff, or whether or not they're being taken along for some sort of ride, like anybody has to do on any sort of spiritual journey. And then also on the outside, we have to talk about whether separating the truth from the fiction, because Scientology, for all its various things, just like you were talking about pedophilia and Pizzagate, it's like there's storylines that you can get going and accuse people of the ultimate evil, and also accuse them of having this ultimate power. Like, I've met plenty of Luciferian Satanists. Some of them have been good people, some of them have been bad people, but none of them have been anywhere near what I would call in the echelon of control or power, or have gone, like I always say this, I go, it's funny. If you think about the people that have gone down this mystical, magical path, Aleister Crowley, Helena Blavatsky, L. Ron Hubbard, for whatever it's supposed to give you, Anton LaVey, perfect example. Even a living example, Colonel Michael Aquino. For all these people who were supposedly messing with dark forces that were supposed to lead them to positions of power and control, all of these people have died penniless, or are looking or at the end stage of their life, not really looking out from a castle on a keep, but rather, looking at serious medical conditions and medical bills that they may or may not be able to pay for. Military pension or non-military pension be damned. Anton LaVey died penniless. It's not
but
very.
Hubbard didn't die penniless.
Hubbard didn't.
He might as well have, though.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, if you think about the condition, L. Ron Hubbard, when he passed away, he was living in a camper. Yes, there were millions of dollars in cash stored in the walls, but his mind had absolutely turned to jello. Right?
Well, yeah, from all the drugs and soul cracking that he did.
He probably had syphilis.
Who knows what else he had? And if we talk about L. Ron Hubbard, we know it's a known fact that he was an acolyte of Crowley, and studied all that stuff, and a lot of that stuff was a heavy influence on his work. But like when it comes to the notion of Scientology and the power of remote viewing, remote influence, and remote assassination, I mean, no offense, I've studied Scientology and I've seen things there, but like the notion that Scientology is going to give you these actualized psychic powers, to me, is as kind of fantasy land as believing that practicing meditation is gonna get you be able to disappear or travel, give you its own psychic powers. I mean, magic works in many different ways, but primarily the way the magic works to the people that work it is in a kind of inner dialogue and a spiritual growth, or feeling connection to the animus or the powers of the universe. And I've never seen anyone actualize what I would consider actualized, psychic abilities and powers. And when it comes to Scientology specifically, a lot of these rumors about Scientology and its connection to remote viewing and remote assassination has to do with the dialogue surrounding the Stanford Research Institute and remote viewing, and the whole notion that the military has got this elite band of psychic, soldiers that it works with or employs, that I found to be a debunkable story. Though other people's research might have led them to other conclusions, I found it to be a debunkable story.
Well, and Scientology is also kind of unique that it's a kind of getting some echo.
Yeah, Ayin, if you
got, turn it down.
Yeah, and also
I was going to say,
is that better?
I was going to say that it's sort of still getting some echo.
What you can do, Ayin, is there's a couple of things that you can do. Either number one, you could use headphones if you have them available. Okay. The other thing you can do is when you're not talking, you can mute the old microphone. But there you go. I mean,
no, it's hearing y'all that's the problem. So let me just put on some headphones. I'm still listening.
And while he's doing that, one thing that I want to throw out there before we lose track of it, we mentioned Bell's palsy. In this community, Bell's palsy has got a very weird history. There's a lot of people that have complained about Bell's palsy or Bell's palsy-like symptoms. Individuals who also talk about things like directed energy weapons and the notion of psychic attack. Carrie Cassidy has a famous story about Bell's palsy, and she's often complained about Bell's palsy as being linked to members or operators who are, black magicians or whatever, trying to work on her. I know that Shane the Ruiner, I think that it's public information. I think that he had a Bell palsy-like situation or medical situation in his life that he experienced for better or for worse. And we also have Randy Moggins, who just appeared on the Sarah Westall show, talking about feeling that he was being victimized by directed energy. That made it worse somehow, Ayin.
How could that possibly make it worse?
I think we're good.
Yeah.
And then if you listen to Brad Johnston, the channeler, he'll tell you that if you're suffering from directed energy attacks, no problem, a pine cone, right? It's gonna take care of that shit.
Yeah, put it right here on your pineal gland on top of your aluminum foil hat, your tinfoil hat.
But we threw a lot out there. What were you saying?
Yeah, we did.
CW.
I'd like to ask.
Let me ask you a question. Let's
go with John first, and then just because I know he was talking, I threw a lot out there, and he might have some feedback.
Aquino, you're telling me he's a good boy? He didn't do nothing. He was trying to get his life together and traffic kids. Like, I'm confused here. Like,
okay,
you mentioned Blavatsky, and I'm like, you mentioned L. Ron, and I'm like, L. Ron Hubbard was not a good guy. I mean, he had Alan Parsons were trying to do Babylon Working. I'd actually argue he's more evil than Crowley. Crowley was just a hedonist and a con man for the most part. But why Aquino out of all of them?
Okay, number one, here's what I'll say. I want to be cautious because having never met the man, having never walked a mile in his shoes or looked in his eyes, I don't know what he's done or not done in his life, but I do know this, and I'll be very forthright and honest with you. This is the first time we're interacting, so I don't want to leave anything out and to make sure that I'm candid with you about who I am and where I'm coming from. I have experimented and been very interested in mysticism and the esoteric since Christ was a child, since I can remember being interested in things.
Me too. Being
interested in Crowley, reading the Satanic Bible underneath my bed sheets with a flashlight in high school, all that good stuff. So, I remember living through, I was born in 1975, and I was into heavy metal as a kid, and I was into to Aleister Crowley and reading Stairway to Heaven and the rock biographies and thinking about these things in these mystical, magical terms and ways. So I remember the Satanic Panic. I remember Anton LaVey and Michael Aquino being on the Geraldo Rivera show. I remember the Jehovah's Witnesses having issues of the Watchtower magazine saying that there were, satanic cults behind everything, and they make the women have the babies and then they sacrifice the babies. And I remember the McMartin trial. I remember all of this stuff and the tales that people were saying. And we know that Michael Aquino was accused himself. But here's where I come from it. I come from a point of view of looking at these things as being from kind of a left-hand path practitioner when I started off working with magic and stuff, being into the work of Aleister Crowley and Austin Osman Spare and Blavatsky and what have you. I see the world from that point of view. And so when I think about the Satanic Panic and the true harm that was done to people, I think of a lot of these things not in terms of we've got to get these satanic pedophiles and wrap up these cults and whatever. I think of it in terms of there's a severe racial prejudice being done by who's dropping the bombs on kids. Is it a ragged band of Satanists, or is it people that are praying to Jesus every Sunday, pray to Jesus, pass the ammunition, let God sort them out? So when I look at the work of Michael Aquino, I say the following. Dude, he was accused of being involved in one of these satanic sex pedophile cults. The powers that be, the legal authorities, both civil and military, did a full investigation and exonerated him.
Horse shit.
Those are debatable. So so he wrote a book about it that details.
I've read Aquino's book, and it's horse crap. I'm guessing you've never read either the Franklin scandal or the Franklin cover-up.
The Franklin scandal is debunkable. I don't believe in the Franklin cover-up.
Get the crap out of here!
Come on, Chanter.
No.
The Franklin cover-up is so documented.
Gentlemen. You can have reactions and say, cut the crap in an emphatic term and throw a book down. You can do that. Or you can, let's engage in the debate.
Let's engage in the debate, because this is part of my life's work. So let's do this. If you want to say it's debunkable, I love a good debate. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. Okay, how far can you put your head in the sand, Chanter? I mean, it's just, you never believe any of this shit.
Let's talk about it. some simple things. And it's been a while since I looked at the Franklin cover-up specifically, so some of my resources might be a little rusty, as they were.
Okay.
But taking a breath, let me do this. So names are a little bit fuzzy. I might have a problem with some names, but the bullet points of the story and the bullet points of my position on the story, I can lay out, I think, with some clarity. Hold on, give me a moment. Number one, let me start off from a core point to make one thing very clear.
Okay.
Do I believe that the people that have occupied the White House, from the president on down, the various presidents, the various ancillary vassals and major domos, have ever had prostitutes, male or female, under the age of 16 or 17 or whatever at the White House throughout the history of the United States of America? Absolutely.
So you don't deny the Washington Times article in the research of Paul M. Rodriguez then?
Well, I'm not familiar with that. I don't feel that I'm comfortable enough saying that I know that actual journalism or that story. So let me tell you what my first statement was, and then let me get to the bullet points of the specific Franklin cover-up allegations that I think that I classify as debunking what a lot of people think the Franklin cover-up story is. Okay. Number one, do I think that prostitutes, both male and female, have been procured and have been at the White House? Yes. Having said that, do I believe in the allegations put forward by the likes of Kathy O'Brien or the various young men and women who constituted the witnesses to the quote-unquote Franklin cover-up? No, I do not.
Okay, Kathy O'Brien was a part of the Franklin cover-up.
No. I'm saying that I'm.
So you don't believe the testimony of Paul Bonacci? You don't believe the testimony of Alicia Owen?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't.
Do you believe the testimony of Ted Gunderson, retired FBI agent?
Well, let's not get. We could talk about Ted. I mean, when you talk about Ted Gunderson, I mean, if you talk about what a person is saying, a guy like Ted Gunderson is not giving really firsthand accounts of. He's talking about what he believes that he saw and observed as patterns.
Ted Gunderson's co-opted. I agree with you.
So
okay, that's fine. I don't trust Ted Gunderson.
Wait, what did you say about Ted Gunderson?
I don't trust Ted Gunderson 100%. I think Ted Gunderson was co-opted. So that's
but I mean, anybody can be co-opted.
Let's do this one. Let's do it a little bit one at a time, and a little bit just so it doesn't turn into like a proverbial gangbang. Not to be insensitive considering the topic we're talking about, the terms that we're talking about. Number one, these witnesses that you named. Do I believe that these witnesses were the victims of possibly lifetime sexual abuse by friends, family, people in power? Probably, because I look in their actions and their behavior, and I say. These are probably not con people. These are probably people that were street kids. They were
Alicia Owen, at least for her, because she never waived at all in her testimony at all. Right. It was always consistent, and it was backed up by CPS reports. And Alicia Owen even went to jail because she would not change her testimony.
Well, yeah, but the fact that she went to jail. I mean, look, I'm not. And here's the thing. I will concede that I'm looking at it externally. I'm looking at it as an outside observer. I wasn't there, and I might not have. It sounds as though, and I will concede that, it sounds as though you probably took a closer look at the testimony, specifically whether it's transcripts or.
I've read the transcripts completely from end to end.
So then there you go. I will concede that point. From where I'm standing, I'll tell you why I threw out the term "it's debunkable," and then we probably, as always is the case. If we're not trying to win a debating club like a forensics examination, we'll probably find that the truth probably lies somewhere in the middle. So here are the points that I want to stress when people talk about the Franklin cover-up and why I think that when I say it's debunkable. Number one, it was the actions. There was one particular political player, that attorney, who really championed the one alleged victim of the Franklin cover-up. You can help me out with the name of that attorney.
John DeCamp.
Yeah, John DeCamp. Okay, and then the main witness that he was advocating for and whose story he was trying to get out. That's this
Paul Bonacci.
Paul Bonacci. Okay. Now, let me talk about what it is. Okay, so Paul Bonacci's allegations and accusations, as we know, were investigated by a body of the government. The what was it, the state senate or someone did an inquest, and they found that there was not the evidence to support his story. Now,
correct, but it was also found that the Nebraska, I don't remember the name of the actual committee that was looking into it all, was co-opted. So that would probably be the reason why. Because okay, let's start with the Franklin cover-up. Do you think Larry? Do you think he? So, do you think he embezzled the money from the Franklin cover-up?
Okay, so here, let's do this. So there's another play that we need to talk about, and this goes to what I say it's debunkable. So what you had in the Franklin cover-up is you had a witness saying that he was involved in.
Yeah, multiple witnesses.
Multiple witnesses saying that they would go. There was a coterie of individuals inside the White House that would procure these young men, make them do various sadomasochistic sexual acts. That I think there was murder involved. It was a very, very elaborate story, full of the sort of details that we associate with what we call the satanic panic. You know, stories where you shake your head and you go, "This is unbelievable."
But there were some things in the satanic panic, for example, the Florida Montessori school that was back. Like, if there's actually a book written where a guy actually took every case that was part of the satanic panic and actually looked at the actual court transcripts and actually looked at the data itself of that was implicated in the cases, and some of it actually was backed up by quote unquote information that was credible.
Let me give my opinion.
Let me because I feel like I want to make sure, because I ventured out and said something about a subject matter that is very sensitive, and because people get heavily charged about things, and as we say, pejoratively triggered about things like child abuse or the existence of satanic pedophile cults. Let me finally get through all the data. What I'm saying is debunking. Number one, the stories of the witnesses, whether Alicia held true to her word, and she did serve time because my understanding is that she was charged with perjury, right?
Yes, and she did serve time. And her court case was so messed up that they actually aired an episode of Dateline, which Tom Brokaw was mentioned.
I saw that. Yeah, absolutely.
During the trial, and the judge said, "Don't watch this," to the jurors. "Don't watch this." So, of course, the jurors go and watch it, and they were swayed by that Dateline episode.
Right. So what we have is that we're all on the outside looking in. We're looking at the transcripts, we're looking at the history, and we're all trying to draw conclusions and figure out what really happened. And like Mishima, it's like, there's different opinions, and we will all have little pieces of the story. Where's the truth lie? Here's what I know. As we speak today, oftentimes people talk about the Franklin cover-up, and what they mean that there's evidence on the record that indicates that the people in high command in the U.S. military and U.S. politics are involved in these evil, cult-like sexual shenanigans and child abuse.
Yes.
And to which I say, okay, if you look at the facts of the Franklin cover-up, you might be able to draw that conclusion, but there are certain key aspects of the Franklin cover-up that, if explored in nuance, could indicate that the alternative is true, which is that these young men and women, whether it was the result of drug use, drug abuse, child abuse, or whatever, we're telling a story. Because I want to make sure that we get this out, because I have a feeling that in your whatabouts, I probably already have a statement to make about it, and it'll be a little bit easier that way.
Okay.
So when it comes to number one of the things that people look at is they look at, okay, my argument is the following. There was an inquest. The Nebraska state legislature looked into the story and did not find that the story had credibility, at which point I point out the fact that whatever happens, it's just like Michael Aquino. If they accuse you of pedophilia and you get exonerated and found innocent, you're still fucked. You might as well have been found guilty, because your life is over, because no one lets it go. People still hound Michael Aquino and say that he appears in their dreams. He's doing all these things to people on the astral. He's the most evil guy out here. So you still don't walk away clean, even when there's been an inquest and investigation. When it comes to the Franklin cover-up specifically, that's what you say. You say it was co-opted. You might have evidence that I haven't been exposed to about the co-opting of the Nebraska state legislature. Yeah. I just simply say, look, we have a fact. The fact of the matter is this, that even when the people say, why won't they look into Pizzagate? Why won't they look into Pedogate? Even when they do look into it and they find that it didn't happen, or they say that it didn't happen, still people say, oh, it was because the investigation was botched or bullshit, or the whole thing was co-opted. That may be a possibility, but it's also a possibility that there's nothing ever comes out perfectly clean. We're not numbers, we're not ones and zeros. We're human beings with emotion and nuance, and we say various things. And all these things are subject to interpretation and belief. Having also gone beyond that, then they'll say that this kid got this $1 million judgment against the alleged fixer, right? But if you look at the actual court transcript, you see it was a default judgment. This guy, the alleged fixer, was already up Schitt's Creek. He was already heavily in debt. He had already declared bankruptcy over like threefold, and he was already sitting in a federal pen for basically life for various, tax problems and various, conspiracy charges. No. So what ends up happening is this. At the time that the young man brought his civil case against Larry, whoever it was, the dude was already like, why the fuck am I going to pay another judge to defend me against an action that it doesn't even matter, because I'm already serving life in prison and I've already been bankrupted 3 times. So what ends up happening is, if you look at the facts, is that it's a default judgment. It happens all the time. Here's the deal. I see you in federal court. I say, John looked at me funny on this YouTube broadcast, and he shook a book and he slammed it down on the ground. And when he slammed it on the ground, I said to myself, fuck, and I had all these emotional problems and hangups about it. I had to go to a psychiatrist for 10 years because he looked at me with this steely gaze, like he could see inside my soul, and it was traumatic, right? Where I sue you for that. Now, you might be out there, and you don't have two dimes to put together. Not saying you personally, this is hypothetical. You might not have the money to fight me. So you don't know what to do. You get served with paperwork. You don't know what to do. You can't afford an attorney. You're working at a gas station. You're working at 7-Eleven, or maybe you're in prison yourself for some trumped up charge like marijuana possession or something, right? There's nothing you can do. When time runs out for you to file an answer, I can file what's known as a demand for what's known as a default judgment. I go to the court and I say, look, I sued him under a legal cognizable cause of action. Then he had a time to answer the complaint, and he failed to answer a complaint. At this point, my side has done everything we need to do legally, so I want a default judgment. And at that point, the judge smacks the gavel down and came up with this crazy multi-million-dollar number based on what the guy had alleged. But that's not a finding of fact. That's just a finding of law. It's a default judgment. There was no judge and jury. There was no witnesses called. There was no testimony. It was simply a default action. But you have it taken as the fact that he won this $1 million judgment as being a bullet point or a tent pole for this veracity of the Franklin cover-up story. So all I'm saying is this, is that I don't know who hired whom, or what this Larry's guy's involvement was in having prostitutes, male prostitutes, female prostitutes, or whoever go to the White House. But my allegation is the following. I believe that people in power get up to some fucked up shit. I do. Do I believe that they kill babies on the regular? No, I don't. Do I believe that they have sex with maybe people that aren't quite 18, but maybe 6? Yeah, I think they have sex. Yeah, I think they get prostitutes. Yeah, I think they do blow and heroin. And sometimes I think that they dress up in fancy clothes. But do I think that they torture people to death? Probably not. Probably not. So when it comes to the Franklin cover-up, that's why I say that it's debatable. One of the tent poles is this notion of the existence of this judgment, which is a default judgment, which means nothing, though people who know that they could report it more clearly don't. And then when it comes to the testimony of these individuals, if you come to a different conclusion regarding the testimony of Alicia and whether or not there was a fix, I would be willing to look at your research. That may sway me to the other end. But at this point, I say, hey, when we look at the Franklin cover-up and we look at the case of Michael Aquino, I see it as a situation where even when the powers that be investigate and find nothing, still the story goes on. If you look at the McMartin trial, right? They dug up, they looked for those tunnels that those kids were describing. They didn't find anything. But then David Icke, 10 years goes by, and then David Icke pops up and says that they did find tunnels. And now when I debate people online about these things, they say, what about the tunnels under the nursery school? What about the tunnels that lead from this the Getty Museum to the to Comet Ping Pong? When those things don't exist. Oh, shit, we lost the dude.
Yeah, we lost him a couple minutes ago. I thought you knew.
No, I was still railing on.
Is John still with us?
Did he drop or did he voluntarily leave because he was disgusted by my point of inquiry?
Well, I have noticed on the times that I've been on this show and watched the show as an observer or whatever. My opinion, not always, but usually falls on the side of John's and on the side against yours. I think John's one of the best panel members you've got because he votes against you pretty fairly often. And I have to say on this matter, I completely agree with John and disagree with you. But one saving grace that you did have on this topic is I was going to lambast you for not bringing up the key player in the Franklin cover-up, which you ultimately did, and that's the fixer guy. And yes, now you brought to these facts that yes, he was in jail for all these other things. Okay, but it's when do you call a pig or whatever? Was he friends with people at the White House or not? Yes, he was. Yes, he went to jail for tax evasion. But was he trafficking children? Okay. Okay. Now let's ask this: is there a problem in every state of the nation where the kids at Boys Town and Boys School and the Children's Protective Services, that's what they call it here, the agency here in Texas, and of course Alex Jones has railed against them, and that means that to me that means that's not a point in the favor of this, it's a point in the opposite favor, because I believe that that Alex Jones is a shill, wholeheartedly believe that. But Texas has even had these problems of allegations of children being taken away from them and for institutionalized and I don't even want to say the word because, I'm going against myself right here, just really even engaging in this conversation. But yeah, I absolutely believe that SRA and all that stuff is real. I mean, how many reports do you have to have? It's just even reported in the Bible. It's since the beginning of time we've had these reports. Is it just an overactive imagination or what? Or to parallel it with the idea of Bigfoot or the possible existence of Bigfoot, how many indigenous peoples and tribes that have never had contact with each other all over the world have to report Bigfoot, the existence of Bigfoot, before we say, hey, maybe it's not a myth. Maybe it's not maybe there's something to this. I mean, how much testimony can we just throw to the side? Because these people are, I don't understand it. If there's enough people reporting something, that doesn't necessarily make it real, because people, one big problem we're seeing right now, and I think in the conspiracy community, and you did draw a parallel between Miles Johnston, the Basis Project, and Corey Goode and David Wilcock earlier, and I refute that because those two organizations are diametrically opposed, and I myself, on more than one occasion, have called out Corey Goode and called out David Wilcock because they're full of shit. Is basically they are full of shit. Nobody has gone to Mars in a jump room via Andrew Bashago or whatever. And I've even had Tony Rodriguez, the latest rising star in the Mars jump room community of space commanders. I've had him on my show, and I was very nice to him and everything like that. But I'll tell you, he was the first guy I had that I kind of doubted. And Tony, if you're listening,
Joker Emery Smith, the scientist,
right?
I don't know about him. But no, I don't believe that people are going to Mars in a jump room. Right. So that right there proves that I don't buy every conspiracy hook, line, and sinker.
Right. I hear you. Just not to dominate the conversation, but let me just say this: because we lost John at a critical point in the conversation, let me take this moment to say two things. Number one, not to put too fine a point on it. I'm not denying the existence of sex trafficking of children. I'm not denying the existence of sex trafficking of children, and I'm not in any way, shape, or form, trying to protect people in power to say that doesn't happen. I'm arguing that the Pizzagate and Pedogate conspiracies, the bizarro tales, in fact, detract from those real investigations and real stories. They don't help the situation. They hurt the situation. So as an advocate of someone who's trying to expose the truth about sexual child abuse, I think it's important that we call a spade and bring things out. The second thing I'd like to say briefly is that because we lost him at a critical point in the conversation, I do want to take this moment to invite John back to my channel for a one-on-one discussion. Because he obviously has done a lot of research and obviously had important intel and information. If it's an invitation he'd be willing to accept, I'm willing to take this moment in time to say, John, if you're out there in internet land,
his internet drops.
His internet drops. Okay. Number one, I hope I don't offend you. I don't think that was the case. And number two, number two, you're invited back for a one-on-one because I think you've got an important thing to say and an important thing to do. And I think
I would really like to hear his rebuttal to what you said if he's able to come back.
And I would too. And I think that conversation would be worthwhile having. So let me just throw that out there.
He'll be back as soon as he can.
Wonderful to hear.
And I don't have anything else to say about the Franklin scandal because I've already gone against what I said earlier and said I really don't discuss subjects like this. But y'all kind of, I think, got the idea of where I stand on this.
It's very hard to talk about. It's very hard to talk about because the minute you try and strike a balance in the conversation, you expose yourself to. Because I know what's going to end up happening. There's a certain troll army out there, and so the next day they're going to go on. They're going to say C.W.Chanter thinks that it's okay for people in the White House to abuse children.
Yes, and
you know what I mean.
Of course, and I've heard about some of the problems you've been having with trolls, and you wouldn't believe who subscribed to my channel today, but I blocked them because I was warned by a certain friend of ours, Brandon Young, to watch out for this guy, and it was Lee Veltman. I didn't
listen. Let me take this moment to say. Let me take this. This is true crazy. This is talking about
the dumpster fire, folks. We have a dumpster fire.
You know what? Lee Veltman. I want to invite Lee Veltman onto the show at this point.
I do too.
If anyone is friends with Lee Veltman,
no. I don't know.
How can I get
what's
Lee
going
Veltman
on with that, CW?
No, I'll tell you exactly what's going on.
I mean, is it because we trolled that girl?
No. Let's stop right now before anything happens. And let me say officially, I love Brandon Young as a younger brother. But like when I say that, it's because I love him, but the fucker goes off the leash so many times. And here's what I'm going to say. I love Brandon Young and I love Lee Veltman. And here's the deal. Here's the straight scoop. Blocking Lee Veltman on the advice of Brandon Young is like blocking Charlie Brown on the advice of Lucy. These two guys.
I think Lee's coming in, guys. He's coming in.
Is he coming in? That's a score if he's coming in. That's a fucking score. And then we have to
get CW, I got to interrupt you for a second here. Sure. Are we seeing some C.W.Chanter internet blood sports tonight?
Oh, I don't know. I hope not.
I think that's what we have.
It's just at 12:11, just when I'm saying, oh, we should go to bed. It's going to be now. It's going to be fucking round two. If Lee Veltman joins in with Lee Veltman's permission.
And it's 11:11. 1-1-1-1 right now.
In here.
Well, shouldn't Brandon Young come on if Lee Veltman's going to come
on? Absolutely. Well,
what about Raksha Moose? Let's just get him on here because he's the one behind Lee Veltman. I don't believe Lee Veltman does anything on
the accusations
without Big Daddy say so.
Oh my God! Wow. Speaking of internet blood sports, Dave, at this point, I'd like to disavow either of us. No, I'm kidding. God bless her. Unfortunately, me and Raksha, I don't know if we worked our shit out yet, but he would certainly be invited to come on any day of the week now.
I'll fight him with one hand behind my back, tied behind. I'll fight him with two hands tied behind my back, as long as he doesn't get to bring any lipstick or any eyeshadow or anything like that.
Listen, well, first of all, I'll tell you to your face. I'll tell you to your face, son, that's a fight you're gonna fucking lose. The smart money is going to be a Raksha Moose with you with one hand tied behind your back, two hands tied behind your back, or a third hand coming out your ass. I have a feeling that Raksha Moose has a way of certainly handling certain energies. But it'd be great if we could get Lee Veltman on. It'd be great if we could get Brandon on Young. And it's all love. Here's what I'm going to say. Here's the advice. First of all, let me tell you something. You don't need to block Lee Veltman. Is Lee Veltman going to treat you nice in your comment section? No. But is he a troll? I don't think so.
Yeah, he's not.
He's not a troll. He just has and when it comes to him and Brandon Young, that shit is just personal. Those two guys just have a fucking personal beef.
Of course, I don't know anything about the beef, but I've noticed it seems personal.
I have no idea where that came from. You know what I mean? Well, no, look. I'll tell you this: is that this is day 70 of my sobriety from liquor and smoke, and prior to getting on the wagon, I made certain decisions. We all made certain decisions that turned out one way or another. Things can get misinterpreted. Things can take things the wrong way. Yo, dude, Lee Veltman in the live chat. Are you gonna come on? Can we get you?
Oh,
Is there a way that we
bullshit.
can get
I don't
you?
believe him.
Is there a way that we can get you the link?
He's in the hangout.
No, that's what is. But is he gonna come on? Has he got a camera?
I don't know. I just saw him join. He joined the conversation.
Let's see what happens. Let's see
I
if
added him.
You added him. Okay, let's see. Yo, if you check out Google Plus League, he should have a link. You should be able to get in if you so desire. Can we get? If he gets in, then we're gonna get Brandon Young in here. If Brandon can come in. Where are we going with this, guys? Well, who knows? That was crazy.
Why do those two fight with each other?
But because it all goes back to it. You know what? The beautiful thing about this stuff is that the great thing about tuning into the C.W.Chanter channel rather than things like Project Camelot, the Basics Project, or Dark Journalist, or whomever, one of these bigger groups, is this is a community of people, and you end up having a history, whether you participate on the level of Draco Reptilians won't let you in. Are you serious? Come on in. Click the link. Are you getting? Maybe there shouldn't be too many people in the conversation. Oh, you know what we could do if we could, because I added a whole bunch of people to the conversation that didn't accept the invite. Maybe it's that we gotta take them out or something to get him in.
Hey, I've got a question for you, CW. Did you or were you not one of these people that received an accusatory an email from Rock Shamus talking me down, me personally?
No, he wasn't talking you down. What had happened was he answered a direct inquiry from me for information that you had sent him regarding your investigation of starting off the new Texas Bases Project. And he basically said that I got an email from Anthropos saying that Miles Johnston gave him permission to start the Texas Bases Project. That was it.
Okay. That's all I wanted to know.
And did you or did you not send him that email?
Yes, I did. I did. I reached out to Rock Shamus. I do regret it. Retrospect,
why do you regret?
I think that he's a hater, and I think that he's eaten up with jealousy. And the reason why, even if he pretends to be your friend, I don't think he ever will be your friend, because it's simple jealousy. He's jealous of the success of your show. He's also jealous of the success which I am evidently in the process of having. And he's a garden variety hater. And
if there's a Jesus in heaven, Rock Shamus will forgive me for all transgressions and sins of the past, and will immediately join this conversation. Let me send him a link. I don't know if he's still up. I don't know if he's awake. What's going on?
Hey, in the case that Lee, if it's giving you the error where it like sits on the black screen and never actually joins, try clicking the link in the Hangout chat. See if we could post that link in the chat again. That's what got me in. That got me past the Draco firewall.
Now I gotta find this email.
Sometimes I have to try 3 or 4 times before the things will let me in, but eventually it does.
That's what she said.
Oh.
Titties and ass.
Hold on, let me do this. Yada, yada, yada. Talk amongst yourselves. No, so anyway, look, I mean, that all of a sudden things got flying around there, and I don't want it to degenerate or get bad. Hold on. Oh, no.
Too late for that.
Always. And I just want to say, for the record, I didn't bring any of this stuff up. You know what I mean? Like, this all came out of nowhere.
Who is sending chat messages?
That would be Ayin.
Oh. You're in the wrong... You're not... Okay, never mind.
Da-da-da-da. 2 seconds. It is what it is. So look, I mean, it is what it is. But so this is that.
He says he's not at home. He's got no connection. He's only watching on his phone.
Oh, that's fine. Okay. So the bottom line is this. here's what I'll say. The bottom line is this. The people participate in the form of involvement on the live chat. People get involved when it comes to participating in the Google Hangouts on various people's channels or the Zoom Hangouts on various people's channels. In those interactions, sometimes things are positive, strictly positive, and sometimes they go sideways. When it comes to the problem between Lee Veltman and Brandon Young, that originates with a story that I really take a lot of personal responsibility for. There was a YouTube content creator called Yvonne Palermo, and she had a channel called The Groovy Bean or Groovy Bean. At one point, because of my anger directed at another YouTube content creator, Dark Journalist, I allowed myself to engage in a series of actions that ended up being interpreted by a crew and a family of other people as being an attack, kind of a manifest psychic attack. I'm not here to make amends by saying that those people's assumptions or interpretations of things were wrong. That just continues the problem. I will simply say I regret the whole interaction. I regret everything that went down because it led to people that in an alternative universe, in a different timeline, would still be friends and socializing to now feel like they've got bad blood. Also, I will also say this. I don't want to be so egotistical as to assume that my belief about what caused the various problems and beef between people is the actual cause. But I will say this. I know Brandon, and I've known Brandon by his actions, his words, and his deeds. I know Lee. I've known him by his actions and his words and his deeds. And so can only assume that this high-grade problem that they have between each other, if they feel it as such, is probably the result of misunderstanding and personal squabbles. But that's not my tale to tell. That's their shit. You know what I mean? That's them to work out. And I apologize to anyone who feels offended by me talking about it in the grander scheme of things. I'll say that Brandon Young has got value to the community with his information that he can bring and his research and intimate knowledge about J.R.R. Tolkien and literature and the Catholic Church and the history of legal and due process and these various things. And I also think that Lee Veltman has serious qualities to bring to the table and serious value to add to the conversations regarding his personal knowledge and experience of these bizarre, obtuse psychology cults, psychiatric cults, these self-improvement movements at a time when people could be talking about the connections between this Pedogate and Pizzagate conspiracy and Allison Mack and NXIVM. Lee Veltman would be a critical voice to have involved in the conversation because he's got serious knowledge and know-how when it comes to the actions of the methodology of organizations like NXIVM and like EST and like Synanon. So it is what it is. Hopefully one day people will have a chance to come together and have a conversation, and it won't just be internet blood sports, though, hey.
Well, let me put my 2 cents worth in, and that's talking about something that we know about here in Texas, and that's real, true loyalty. And I'll tell you what, Brandon Young, I'll stand behind Brandon Young. I'm with him right or wrong. I'll fight. I'll back to back in a barroom fight. I don't care if he's wrong. I'm on his side.
Listen, number one, here's the thing. I love Brandon Young like a brother. If you're talking about people to bring into a barroom fight, Brandon Young is not the guy.
There's something else in Texas we got to do now and then, though, is know when to drag your buddy out of the back of the bar before he gets himself killed.
That's it. Brandon Young will probably be the first guy to be like, actually, gentlemen. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. It is what it is. We're talking all sorts of shit about people that aren't in the room. God bless them. I feel bad about that. But hey, it is what it is. But I'll say this, is that if you block Lee Veltman, here's what I would say.
I've already done that.
Well, unblock him if you feel like you could risk it.
No, I'm not going to. I'm absolutely not going to. But let me ask you this, Chanter. Has there ever been one case ever in the history of the internet of a government agency paying someone money to go and disrupt one of these shows? Like the idea that
I don't know about one of these shows. I know if you actually look at the work of Richard Doty, that absolutely there are COINTELPRO professional CIA shills, military industrial shills, running through these channels. Absolutely. And absolutely they use the power of the internet, and absolutely they use the power of psychological mind control, their knowledge of NLP. They drive people insane. They drive people crazy. And there are people who should be called out as interacting with these trolls and these demons and allowing them free reign to do it. So if you're going to talk about Richard Doty, and we're talking about people to throw under the bus, hats to throw under the bus, let's talk about Project Avalon and Bill Ryan. Let's talk about Project Serpo.
I'm not sure what the accusation is now. I know that Bill Ryan has come out verbally against Corey Good and David Wilcock.
But that's listen, look at that. Bill Ryan comes out against.
But he built them.
Yeah, exactly. Corey Good. Listen, the story of Corey Good is intimately involved with the story of Bill Ryan. And if you want to talk about Bill Ryan coming out against Corey Good, you need to know that Bill Ryan absolutely has a track history of. First of all, you were talking about Scientologists. He's a Scientologist. He's a free zone Scientologist.
I can't even believe that word came out of your mouth because I thought, are you a free zoner?
I'm influenced by free zone.
Careful, CW. You're going to get the squirrel hunters on you.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Okay. I've been wanting to ask you that.
The squirrel hunters can't even afford their hats anymore. Thank God to Anonymous. The problems with Scientology is they got bigger fish to fry than C.W.Chanter. I wish they would come after me because then I'd have an excuse to have a channel that gets more than the X number of views.
Is Leah Remini controlled opposition?
No, I think first of all, Leah Remini. I want to say is that Leah Remini for say what you want. The whole thing with the Scientology movement and the anti-Scientology movement is very interesting, especially nowadays when you have not Mark Rinder, the other bigwig who was involved, Marty Rathburn,
basically the whole upper echelon,
who's now gone back into Scientology and is reversed direction. And is now basically pro-Scientology, coming out and having hit pieces against Leah Remini. Basically, he went from fighting the squirrel hunters to joining the squirrel hunters as their lead investigator and face. So that's a very fascinating thing that went down. Number two, the other thing is that Leah Remini came out against Scientology when it was a very, very wise career move to do so. No offense. Scientology, just like Satanism, it's an easy target. So who does Donald Marshall blame for the cloning centers, his fantastical tale of the cloning centers, who's involved there? Oh, it just so happens to be Scientologists.
I didn't know that. Interesting, yeah.
And one of the accusations talking about these people, the remote viewers and the remote view and assassinations, whatever, they blame Scientology. They blame Scientology as if Scientology, listen, if you blame Scientology, here's what's going to happen if you stay the tech and go up the bridge to clear inside the Church of Scientology. You are going to end up markedly poorer than you did when you started off. Here's what's going to happen if you explore Scientology in the quote unquote free zone. You may find yourself with remarkable discoveries about your past and about how you work and about the nature of control and the nature of NLP and the nature of self-hypnosis than you did when you started. Anything, whether it's Catholicism, Scientology, Satanism, whatever, witchcraft, druidry, anything that you conspiracy theory research, any of these paths that you go down at your peril, because when you start unraveling the nature of what is real, what is not real, what's true, what's false, when you get down to the nitty-gritty, you're involved in a spiritual discovery that can either lead you to the path of paradise or drive you completely fucking insane.
And that's where most people go. You were talking about this earlier, all these adepts and stuff. That's why it's not very attractive, and people are wise to not really get into the cult unless they're really passionate about it. I don't, because most of them do end up in ruin. It's just over 50%. I think the number's a lot higher than 50%. And it is interesting that in a lot of these, you just don't see too many success stories.
No, you don't. You see a lot of problems.
And the idea that Miscavige, that the intelligence agencies have taken over Scientology and they're ousting Miscavige and might possibly be bringing Tom Cruise up to be the new leader of Scientology.
Well,
I hadn't heard that. That's interesting.
Yeah, no, but before we go off on that track, let me just say this. Where was I going with that? Where was I thinking? Oh, hey, we got someone join. That's a cool guy. They all said, well, anyway, let me not give you. Let me backtrack 1 second. What was I saying? Fuck me, I totally lost it. What was I saying? Anybody? Before we got off. Oh, when it comes to Leah Remini. Oh, no. Bill Ryan. When Bill Ryan and Dark Journalist came out against. First of all, Bill Ryan has a track history of when you do something that he doesn't like about you, he goes personal, and he'll put out your docs and he'll put out your material, put out your information. That shit happens with him all the time. Number two, when it came to him talking about coming out against Corey Good, that whole anti-Corey Good thing that happened was very interesting because it was Dark Journalist led the charge, and Dark Journalist allegations was that there was a COINTELPRO movement involved in trying to discredit and detract from the actual credible information regarding the secret space program. And it was by the Corey Good. And his allegations against Corey Good was the story was unsupportable by facts. It was total mythology. It was being promoted and supported by these nefarious darkroom agents that were involved in, had a past and, they had mysterious tattoos and involved in Satanism and worship. And this whole expose that he did on Corey Good. Right after he does that expose on Corey Good, he does a feature-length promotion of this gal, Gigi Young, who's a star seed, who's a hot piece of ass star seed, whose story is as unsupportable as Corey Good. It's the same bullshit. I'm a higher entity person. I could contact it. I could channel all these things. So all the sins that he accused Corey Good of, he then came out and did and promoted someone who had it. Then when he was talking about this guy, Roger Ramsord, saying that there was evidence that it should be mysterious because he was involved in all this dark, secret, esoteric stuff, and he was involved in a band that was basically a dark band like Marilyn Manson or whatever. Guess what the history of Dark Journalist is? And I know this for a fact because, asshole, I know everyone who ever was involved in the promotion of the Club Man Ray in Boston. Dark Journalist was in a goth band. Why do you think he calls himself Dark Journalist? You don't think that he's read the book, the Satanic Bible?
So you think he's ever put mascara on his eyes?
I think he absolutely. If he did put mascara on his eyes, I'll tell you what, he did paint his nails black. I guarantee you that for sure. I guarantee you this motherfucker at some point in high school had a fishnet shirt. I guarantee you. So all these things that he was saying, it's just when it comes to COINTELPRO, finding out who's COINTELPRO, it goes back to one of our original points, which is the influence and power of money. These people decide that they're going to dedicate their lives to it, whether you're Richard Dolan, whether you're Joseph Farrell, whether you're Jim Mars, whether you're Jordan Maxwell, whether you're Dark Journalist, whether you're Kerry Cassidy, whether you're Bill Ryan. The minute you dedicate your life to this and decide that this is what you're going to do for money, you got to keep the hits running, which means that if there's not another Franklin cover-up to talk about, you find another Franklin cover-up to talk about. If there's not some other bullshit to expose, you find some bullshit to expose.
If there's not another super soldier, you create one.
You create one. So are there COINTELPRO agents out here? Absolutely. But at the same time that there's COINTELPRO agents out here, if the COINTELPRO agent comes out and starts saying things that people like Ted Gunderson's a perfect example. If you're FBI, you're part of COINTELPRO, you're part of this, you're part of the other thing, then you start saying things that people like, they accept you. Dude, I'll say it. I like Walter Bosley as a person. Walter Bosley's a background in military intelligence. Robert David Steele is out here, who's the corollary nexus of connection between NASA having to make a statement about sex slaves on Mars. He's connected to David Wilcox. He's connected now to Benjamin Fulford, and he's connected to Stillness in the Storm, and he's connected to the Sphere Being Alliance. And he's ex-CIA. You ever hear the expression, once CIA, always CIA? Oh, but then, oh no, because he's telling people what they want to hear about sex cults and whatever, so he's a white hat. And QAnon, who's a mysterious, unknown presence, who no one can even verify what he says or does or being factual, he's leading people down the primrose path of saying things like Donald Trump should get a pass for everything under the sun, from grabbing pussy to whatever, because QAnon is telling you that the alliance is after him. Now you have Corey Good saying that the fucking SSP is behind Donald Trump. You've got Dark Journalist saying that the powers that be, that Donald Trump was fighting the deep state. So you have Jay Dyer, Corey Good, Dark Journalist, Robert David Steele, ex-CIA, David Wilcox, Benjamin Fulford. You have all these people saying, don't worry, go back. Jordan Sather,
Neil
all these
Keenan.
all these people that are supposedly against each other and fighting each other are basically, depending on whether you awaken or talking about the news on Monday or talking about the news on Wednesday, playing for the same fucking team. And I got to tell you, here's the dark, real dirty little secret. The team that they're playing for is Fantasyland. The team that they're playing for is Fantasyland, because whether you're ex-CIA or FBI, what's CIA, all CIA, always CIA. You know why the CIA is, every year, hundreds of people retire from the CIA. And they find themselves sitting on their ass, at one time being in positions of power, once having like most retired people, at one point they had a job to do, they had an office to go to, they had a meaning in their life. Then they get on the other side, they sit on their duff. The first thing they try to do is write a military industrial spy novel, right? That's the first thing they do when they get out of the CIA and the FBI, is they try and say, hey, it works for fucking, who's that guy? Tom Clancy. They start trying to write some shit. That doesn't go anywhere. And then they start promoting themselves. They discover this little world. And then they start appearing on Alex Jones if they're lucky. And if they don't play their cards right and they go too far with it, they don't make the grade, like Mike Cernovich and like Robert David Steele or Jerome Corsi. They get bumped from Alex Jones and have to go one notch down until they end up fucking shilling out on the likes of Sarah Westall's channel or Sage of Quay, telling people more and more fantastical stories, more and more crazy shit. It's a sick loop. And you've got the people at home. And meanwhile, while we're having this conversation, where the biggest conspiracy theory channels will be like, 20,000 views, 40,000 views, 90% of which are fucking Koch brother bots, 90% of which are Google Analytics bots, right? Designed to promote channels by people in the know who know how to do that shit, which is simple as fuck, because it's in Google's best interest to have big numbers under channels rather than little numbers under channels. While all that bullshit is going on, where was I going with that? While all that bullshit's going on, if you look at the fucking actual cute kitten videos, if you look at videos from MSNBC and ABC, if you look at mainstream news videos that end up butt fucking their way onto YouTube, if you look at the works of Sam Cedar and the Majority Report, if you look at not even Alex Jones, if you look at any of these if you look at fucking Logan Paul, if you look at H3 Productions, if you look at Dave mentioned Internet Blood Sports. If you go there are these alt-right conspiracy channels. If you go to cringe culture YouTube channels, these guys have got hundreds of thousands of views in a week. You can't live on 40,000 views a week on Jordan Sather. It's like, you know what 40,000 hits on your daily video will get you? 40,000 hits on your daily video and $5 will get you a cold cup of coffee and a hard roll. That's the truth. If you look at the actual numbers that are generated by Google AdSense, especially now that no one's making any money with Google AdSense, and the Patreon money is going to run out because the American economy is fucking shit show.
Yeah, and so that's why I'm involved in affiliate sales. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. After Adpocalypse, it's all the money got taken out of it. That's definitely for sure. And the genre that suffered the most is the conspiracy genre. And yeah, now you bring up this fluffy cat videos that gets 1 million views and whatever. You're really liking my outfit. But anyway, it's not. We're not even in the same business as that. I mean, the only thing we have in common with fluffy cats is that they're on YouTube. That's almost like an entirely different subject. But let me ask, out of all these big numbers and big shows that you've brought up, somebody's that's come up big time and hard, and I want to know if you believe their numbers. The Leak Project.
The Leak Project is, when Leak Project came out, I had one question on my mind, which was this. I've been following YouTube conspiracy theory since 2007, since Jump Street. I had seen the numbers on Project Camelot. I had seen the numbers on, various other websites, various other channels, and knew where they came from. I knew who generated hits. I knew that if you had a Jordan Maxwell, it would get X number of thousand hits, whether it was on this small channel or that small channel. I saw the numbers. And then all of a sudden, I saw the Leak Project come out of nowhere. Out of fucking nowhere, with like 40,000 subscribers. And I said to myself, there's some fuckery going on.
Well, do you know how many subscribers they have now?
I have no idea.
I think it's over 200,000. But let me tell you, my interview that I did for the Leak Project, I checked it out the other day, and that was in December of 2016 that I did it. Guess how many views my interview has?
I have no idea how many, buddy.
Over 46,000 and growing. The other a few weeks ago, it got over 2,000 views in like a week and a half.
But here's the thing. No, and I'm not trying to disparage. First of all, I think Rex Bear's got a lot of things going for him. Number one, Rex Bear's got a good presentation style, and he's got a decent voice. Having said that, he's got some charisma. Having said that, here's what I'll say. I think Rex Bear is running into the same problem that a lot of people are running into, which is the following. When Coast to Coast AM started, part of what Coast to Coast AM had was they were the only people doing that thing. But when YouTube came on, it's like Coast to Coast AM. All of a sudden, then when internet radio happened, all of a sudden there were 500 Coast to Coast AMs. There was Freedom Slips Radio. There was American. There's Wolf Spirit. There are all these different internet radio things, and they took a hit. When Project Camelot started on YouTube, there was just Project Camelot. But like I said, it's like the mother has little babies. Led Zeppelin, the Beatles. A band comes out on the scene with a dynamic new sound. And then the very next year, there's 25. There's Led Zeppelin, and then there's Led Zeppelin, Aerosmith, Bachman Turner Overdrive, down the line. One year there's David Bowie, the next year there's David Bowie plus Sweet, plus Slade, plus whomever.
It's going to be. I've already foreseen it's going to be the same thing with me. If I'm able to make an impact that I want to make, there's going to be a lot of people going around with machetes and hitting stuff and yelling and stuff like that. I think now I don't necessarily that's going to happen with you because you don't believe anything. There's not one conspiracy that you believe.
That's not true. That's not true. But I mean,
I know. I was exaggerating.
So going back to it, here's the problem. So we live in an environment where there are 10,000 channels doing this thing. There's Leak Project. There's Jordan Maxwell has his own thing. Richard Dolan has his own internet radio show. There's 18 billion Project Camelots. You know what I mean? There's all these. They're higher side chats ad infinitum. Freeman Fly has had run into this problem. Mark Passio's running into this problem. Begets. We're now so much time as time moves forward to the future. This process doesn't just continue regularly; it increases exponentially. It's jumping off the tracks, just like So it's like all these things are running into a problem because there's not enough people to go around. There's not enough times. Like Jordan Maxwell. How many times are you going to have Jordan Maxwell go to this radio show, this YouTube channel, this YouTube channel, and say the same thing over and over again? So when I tuned into Rex Baird at the Leaks Project and I started following his work, the first thing out of the gate, he's got Jordan Maxwell booked, he's got Richard Dolan booked, he's got Joseph Farrell booked, and that's all well and good. And then next year you can come back and do it again. But now what I see is a lot of Rex Baird doing a lot of his own stuff. He has to get up there and be like, I just saw this interesting Wikipedia article on.
But he does have some really interesting stuff. Now, the only thing that kind of I found a little bit disturbing about Rex Bear and the Leak Project is that they are, as far as I can tell, endorsing what I call the Anunnaki narrative. And I think the Anunnaki narrative, I think there will be a staged alien invasion. That's just my opinion. I don't have any evidence of that. But whether there's a staged alien invasion in the future or not, or they're going to try one or not, there is for sure an Anunnaki narrative. And this narrative supports many ideas, and one that we are created by aliens. That's the whole, and even if the Babylonian cuneiform said that and everything, that still doesn't make it true. And I don't know that, I'm very suspicious of what I call the Anunnaki narrative.
No, I think the Anunnaki narrative, and we talked a little bit of darkness about Bill Ryan. The guy's also done other things because this is what ends up happening. No one is 100% bad. No one is 100% good. People do their work, and some of the information generated is worthy of research, and some of it's just fantasy. He and Kerry Cassidy went down and interviewed Zachariah Sitchin before Zachariah Sitchin passed away. And Bill Ryan has always been very frank to say that Zachariah Sitchin disclosed to him that he basically all this stuff was channeled information. Zechariah Sitchin doesn't read Sumerian, has never been able to read Sumerian, and in private conceded that to his friends, family, and compatriots. Having said that, Zechariah Sitchin believed this bullshit to the degree that he believed that he knew and understood that he was divining true stuff. But it's the same old story. It's Joseph Smith and the Egyptian hieroglyphic manuscript.
Yeah, the angel Moroni.
Yeah. Well, no. Beyond that, there was a traveling salesman who had various Egyptian artifacts, and he sold a couple to Joseph Smith, including a manuscript that like a papyrus with some hieroglyphics on it. And Joseph Smith interpreted it to be this tale about Isaac or some teaching from Isaac. And it wasn't that at all. It was
okay. But this is what I have to ask you about this, because I mean, this one of the things that I say. I'm totally lambasting archaeology is one of the things that I have in my true science, because I believe it's a bunch of lies. But so I also go against the Prussian education system. But I go around saying that archaeology is a complete lie, the way it's taught in every university and every school except for Brigham Young University. Because at Brigham Young University, they teach the truth. And no, I'm not a Mormon. And so regardless of any of this stuff at Brigham Young or, the John, whatever he was that started the Mormons, whether any of that's true or he got it from a traveling charlatan or not, it does not have any impact on the truth that we now know the truth that America is full of Egyptian-like archaeological sites, and that there are no Indians in Indian burial mounds, and almost every one of them has giants in it. We've got 100 years of newspaper articles reporting this. I
got to interrupt you here with the Brigham Young comment. Do you realize that Brigham Young University archaeology teaches that in pre-Columbian America there were horses, and that pre-Columbian peoples used swords and shields and worked steel into breastplates?
Let me tell you, I was not aware of that, because I said a lot of things I said about Brigham Young on based on assumptions, because I really didn't research it. But I will tell you, all those things that you just now mentioned, I have absolutely zero trouble in believing every bit of that. Because let me tell you, one of all the problems with archaeology, they have all of these stones like basalt and granite that are cut with supposedly during the Bronze Age. Bronze is softer than granite and it's softer than basalt. I'm sorry that you work on a piece of granite forever with a piece of bronze. You're not going to be able to carve it. The whole thing has been proven to be a lie. And there's a Sylvia.
Yeah, you can carve granite with another piece of granite or a piece of quartz, which you can get in the river.
All that stuff was poured, probably.
No. You're right. You're right. They found out, and there's some type of secret technology to that. But here's another thing, Jerry. That Sylvia Ivanova, who was made popular.
I'm familiar with her. Yeah.
She's talking about a worldwide civilization, and this is very interesting because I didn't know this. A lot of these ruins in Mexico and places like this that are ascribed to the Spanish because they look somewhat colonial. They're way before. There's like Roman type ruins all over Mexico and stuff, and in Italy, you can't even dig 5 feet in the ground without running into some ancient and culture, and they all have a similarities.
And I can get behind basically almost everything you said. It's just some I definitely believe in the monoliths in South America. There was technology in ancient civilizations we don't understand, we don't know about. It's just some of the stuff that Brigham Young teaches about huge armies of men fighting in, basically huge armies of Native American type people fighting in knight's armor, basically. And we haven't found a single sword. There's just no evidence for it. I mean, if there was, you could go to a museum in South America and see these things.
Well, yeah, maybe in South America, because I've got my own ideas about that, because I personally went down there to see the elongated skulls. Okay, so they're not human. Okay, the morphology is different. There's no amount of cradle boarding that is going to make the volume of your head larger. And I've also made this discovery. Personally, nobody taught me this. I personally it's my own theory. The elongated skulls that we have been shown our entire life are all female. Okay, because when the human skull, the male skull and the female skull are generally actually about the same size. Yes, male skulls are bigger than female skulls, but in general, they're relatively the same size. Not so with the Paracas people or the elongated skulls. The male skull is usually about twice the size. I mean, Brian Forster's over there unearthing skulls that are like 21 inches long. And let me tell you, I was right there in the same room with those skulls in skull number 176. Which is the one that everyone's seen their whole life. Who I saw when I was a little kid, and because it's written on with a magic marker, 176. I was right there in the same room with that skull. These skulls, you and I, on the top of our head, we have an occipital plate. We have 3 plates on the top of your head. You have a frontal plate, a left occipital plate, and a right occipital plate. They don't. They just have 2 plates, a front and a back. There's also a big hole up there, supposedly maybe for extra blood or something to go through. Not only that, their eye sockets are totally different from ours. We envision ours as being round, and they're really not. If you look at a human skull, it's almost like an upside down triangle, the socket for your eye. Okay, right. Now let me tell you, theirs are completely round, way more shallow, and much bigger. Ours are deep. And one more point.
Sure.
A robust jaw. They have a jawbone. You wouldn't be able to break. You'd break your fist on this jaw. I mean, they have a robust jawbone.
So look. Right. So there's genetic variation within the Homo sapien bloodline, and we know, looking in the past, that there have been other hominids and humanoids on planet Earth. You know, the so-called Hobbit man, the Neanderthal. And so what I'm saying is this: is that if you look at these things, they might be different than the so-called normative genetic structure, bone structure that we observe in modern human, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the origins are extraterrestrial.
Well, no, I never said extraterrestrial.
That's granted. I don't mean,
because I don't. That's the trap they're trying to lead you down. And let me tell you, this Columbia University, and this is a show that's on Gaia TV. So I don't know. I've only seen the preview because I refuse to give them any money. But they have pictures, and I don't know if it's fake or whatever. But I asked when I was down there in Peru. I said, "Okay, you got these elongated skulls." I said, "Where's the damn bodies? Where's the skeletons?" And the excuse that I was given is that they considered the skulls to be sacred, and so I guess they just threw all the skeletons in the trash, you know. And I'm like, wait, you got all these skulls. I want to see the body, you know. And I asked their officials about that. And let me tell you, in the museum in Ica, the government museum, they have displayed up on the wall a complete deal explaining that all of these skulls are made by cradle boarding. Now, I will tell you this. I went down there to see the Juan Navarro Museum that has 47 of these skulls in it. We went to Paracas. I went down there and I was crestfallen to learn that the museum had been closed the week before because of a big storm that had damaged the museum. And in my conspiratorial way of thinking, I was like, oh, the powers that be, they used the weather warfare to, create a storm just because they knew I was coming down here. I'm just, of course, joking about that.
No, you're not. No, you're not, motherfucker. You just told on yourself. That's exactly. This is my invitation of 8 thermists outside that South American museum. Oh, fucking shit. Oh, fucking they knew I was coming down here.
Exactly. Well, no, the story gets better. It gets better. So I was a little bit dejected, but at the Cocopelli, which is a backpack, what they call a backpack is what they used to call a hostel until those movies came out. And let me tell you, there's some sexy motherfuckers there, man. There's like armies of small groups of, there's all these chicks in bikinis and stuff because they're going and doing all these good works and shit. I can oh my God, they were so fun. But anyway, they got all kinds of good dope and everything down there. Yeah, Cocopelli, right.
Cocopelli was invoked.
Yep. So I was lamenting to this guy in the office. All my comrades and my film crew was down there at the bar, snorting coke and drinking and talking to chicks and playing these bar games and shit. And I was like so dejected. I went and I started talking to this guy in the office. Lo and behold, you talk about divine providence or whatever. This guy told me, first of all, the museum to go to. He's like, oh no, they just moved him over here to Ica, ICA. So the Nazca and Paracas and Ica are all kind of like in a region or a state that's called Ica. And the town of Ica is also in Ica. So it's the regional province or whatever. Well, there's a museum there that's a government museum. And that's where we went and saw the skull number 176. This guy that I was talking to related the story to me that he personally had been hired to the week before or 2 weeks before, week and a half or whatever, to organize the laborers they had and to be the boss for the laborers. And he was one of the guys that transported the 47 skulls to the museum in Ica. And what he told me is this, that there is a warehouse behind the main museum in Ica that is a block long, and the ceiling is 20 feet high. And he went in there to take the skulls in there, and he said that fucking building is filled with elongated skulls from the bottom all the way up to the roof. They've got a building out there that is just filled with elongated skulls. And now what I'm going to tell you, and I don't know that this is fake or true, but they are saying this on, it's not what they're saying on Gaia. They're showing this artifact, whether it's made out of paper mache, I don't know. But what they're showing on Gaia TV that is in an American university that they're running through MRI machines and everything like that. It's just like a person, except it has 3 fingers and 3 toes.
That never went through any American university. That fucking paper mache mummy was a total fabricated piece of shit. I'm
not refuting that. Have you heard about that? Have you seen it?
Yeah, I've seen all that bullshit. That was some bullshit.
How about the little doll?
I'm not saying I do believe that. What it is, the lady they had observing it or analyzing it, was probably with an American university at some time. They made it look official. They made it look official. But I'm not saying I believe that shit about that. It did kind of look like paper mache, didn't it?
Yeah, because that's exactly what the fuck it was. And these guys that were expert geologists were treating it like they would treat a Hollywood prop. They were
Brian Forrester was part of that, and I think that Brian Forrester, I don't think he's a liar.
Well, I do. I think anyone associated with Gaia Productions, David Wilcox, Corey Good, the Nazca Mummy, I think they're all fucking liars. I think they're liars. That thing was such a childish piece of garbage. The notion that anyone could take any of that shit seriously is laughable. That's like, you know what taking that shit seriously was? That's like taking the fucking Fiji mermaid seriously.
Maybe
it's
not
fucking,
that.
It's a short con. It's that alien autopsy video that they showed on Fox back in the day. You like X-Files?
That was a good video, though.
Yeah. Smoke some more dope and watch this piece of bullshit.
Yeah, and Jonathan, what's his name? Was the announcer for that. They got the guy from Star Trek.
All that stuff. Yeah, well, whoever. I don't know, man.
I think that Brian Forrester is in search of the truth, and I think that I don't think that he would be involved in a lie. That's the only thing that I have to say in favor of that. Yes, it did look to me like a fake.
Good.
It looked fake to me.
Good.
And I don't.
Your eyes work. There you go.
However,
hey man, what's going on, brother? How you doing tonight?
What's up? I'm good. However unbelievable the blue chicken people story is, I think that any one of us, if given the opportunity to be a super soldier for 20 years, would take it without a heartbeat. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Well, the thing is that these nefarious bastards come to you when you're 7 or 8 years old, right?
So I'm way past my prime, I guess.
Yeah, you got to give up that fantasy. I don't know if it's going to happen for you, baby. But if it does happen, here's the question. They do the 20-year back program. I wonder if you could sign up for just 20 years back. Like you'd be like, you can have me till I'm 60, but for now, can you get me back to 22? 20 comes out here and starts screaming about conspiracy theories and the bullshit involved therein. C.W.Chanter, he is toast. Toast, my friends. I like Ayin's hat.
That's so true, though. If some very attractive woman just came on it and made a channel and started reading conspiracy news, totally take off.
Oh, it would be absolutely.
Rex Bear would be freaking out.
He would be. He'd be trying to get her to be a co-host.
If someone did like naked news, but naked conspiracy news, can you imagine that?
We're all done.
Jesus.
Done. And you'd have a perfect angle on it too, because it's like, oh, you're doing it. This is salacious sex thing. They could either play the dark satanic aspect of it, right?
Yeah, but
I'm using my feminine power, or they could just play the Earth Mother. Clothes are evil, man. That's why I'm bringing you the conspiracy theory news in the buff. You know what I mean? They tried to ban me. That's why I'm only available on realfans.com.
Today in the Illuminati news.
OnlyFans.com.
There you go. OnlyFans. Oh, I'm sorry, Jerry. You see, I got the name wrong. I got the name wrong because I don't actually subscribe. I don't
either. I do not.
Oh, sure you don't. You know, you and Walter Bosley are the Bailey J fan club over here. Bullshit. I'm teasing. I tease. Hey, listen, I subscribed. That was my permission slip to subscribe. I'm like, well, I better follow Bailey J too, just to make sure that I don't miss anything.
That's when I knew I liked him. That's when I knew I liked him. You know.
But then again, then you wonder who's COINTELPRO. Now it's like, oh, now you're working all the angles.
Literally.
Frankly, cover up until it's uncovered. There you go.
Literally.
And Bailey J gets a plug. Hey. Oh, what? No, I mean, yikes.
I don't think she's real active anymore.
There you go. Well, listen, we all hit that awkward phase where, we get a little bit older and yada yada. Well, she doesn't need to be. She's at that phase. You know what I mean? It's just appearances at the festivals and at the AVN Awards. That'll get you enough.
Yeah, but the blowjob vids don't stay on YouTube too long.
Damn it. Well, listen, every guy's got his limit. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Ba-da-da-da-da-da. Anyway, as the it's so funny that you'd think that the consultation of the Tarot would class up the proceedings, right? Unfortunately, it being the C.W.Chanter channel, it kind of goes in another direction.
You always use that Toth deck? Is that your deck of choice?
No, I've got a variety of decks next to me. In fact, it's so funny. The decks are out. Were out a while ago because we were talking about Tarot. I grabbed the Toth Tarot deck because it was on the top, but it was just because I had a little pyramid of decks. My favorite deck of all times, currently, is I still love the Zombie Tarot deck because of its innocence, juvenility, allows you to play with it without, for me, overarching fear that I'm going to get the interpretation wrong or bad or fuck it up. It reminds me to treat it as a game, or that I can treat life itself as a game and therefore treat the deck as a game and have fun in it. Also, just the notion of it's a horrible situation, a zombie apocalypse. Like, it's as bad as it could get. And if you can find in the zombie, because the Zombie Tarot deck, everyone's smiling. Even the people being eaten alive generally are smiling. So it reminds you at all times that even if it's a zombie apocalypse, have fun with it, right? Like any good 1950s B horror movie, the impulse that gives rise to the 1950s horror movies was the fear of the ultimate atomic destruction, right? Uh-huh. We all knew that we could really truly die, just like the Golden Age horror movies had a response, or were partially a response from other things that were going on in the zeitgeist of human consciousness. So in that same way, is that the Zombie Tarot deck reflects that same energy for me, that even in the darkest, bleakest of nightmare scenarios, you can have fun with it, and the hanged man can have a smile on his face because it can't get any worse. You know what I mean? Here I am. This is a moment of transition. What do I see it as? Do I see it as a moment of defeat and death, or do I see it as a moment of transition and transformation? I also have the Necronomicon Tarot deck around me that I try to get into, but it's its own special kind of esoteric.
Is that by Donald Tyson?
Exactly. And I've read I haven't finished the book that it's based on, his version of the Necronomicon, and maybe that's part of it. It's you have to make so much commitment to his personal mythology and worldview that it's a little bit harder for me to work in, because it doesn't, you know what I mean? If you look at the Osho Tarot deck, the Toth Tarot deck, and the Zombie Tarot deck, the Princess of Cups or whatever is going to have general similarities to each other and general similar interpretations when you get to the text of the book. But when you get to the Necronomicon Tarot, really it's almost like oracle cards. It's its own kind of thing it's borrowing from Tarot, but it's got so much of its own energy built into it that it's a little bit harder to just jump it back and forth on.
the artwork in that is so dark and so
very
depressing.
dark. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it's a specialized deck. You know what I mean? So,
but I have a difficult time reading with the Toth deck just because it's so screwed around with compared to a traditional deck.
Right.
I mean, when I look at court cards and there's no king, and somehow the knight has been elevated to the king position, that just completely throws me off. And some of the major arcana as well, having an Ayin card and a lust card instead of a strength card. And I just have a hard time trying to read with the Toth deck. So it's beautiful, but I can't read with it effectively.
Have you guys ever seen the Santa Muerta deck?
No,
what is
I
it?
haven't.
The Santa Muerta deck?
That's new to me.
That looks neat.
It looks beautiful. I'll definitely check it out.
It's a Day of the Dead themed, and cards are really nice. I don't have any to show. I mean, I just...
So the other thing is, as you were saying about the Toth Tarot deck, I know exactly what you mean, especially when it comes to the knight and the king juxtaposition and some of those other juxtapositions, because it's almost like a foreign language where they will switch the pronoun and the verb construction or whatever. It's like that one little thing can make it like so whenever I try to read with the Toth Tarot deck, I'm always like having to go back and forth with the literature. And also because so much of it's involved with the knowledge of like the spheres and the correspondences, from, that's really, I'm like, oh my God, that's when it turns into algebra for me. That's when I'm like, I'm just going to look at the pictures and tell you what I think I see. You know what I mean?
Some of the pictures in that are so abstract too, that it's even difficult to get a focus on what you're even looking at. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. But have you seen it's a newer deck called the Thelema Tarot?
No.
That's actually worth checking out if you want more of a Crowley inspired deck that is actually usable for an average bozo like me that is used to using a Rider-Waite type of a system. That the Thelema Tarot it's been out maybe for 2 years. That's a good deal.
I'll check.
Yeah, it's worth buying.
Beautiful. But the one thing I must have a factual correction here. The notion that you're an average bozo. Get the fuck out of here, Reemsy. You're solid gold, baby. You are solid gold.
Did you see his tracing table?
Oh, that's what part of what I'm talking about. There's no way that you're going to produce the videos that you produce and the work that you produce and pick the winners that you pick. And I'm going to let you get around with saying like some self-deprecating nonsense, like I'm an average bozo. Get the fuck out of here. Now, I ain't Thropos, so there's an average bozo. Kidding, I'm teasing you. And what's your take on the tarot? You got any experience with tarot interpretation? I know you talked about you employ some psychics in your coterie of babes.
He's muted.
I know. Oh, Jerry, no, Jerry, don't unmute him. Let's see how long we can keep this going for. No, I'm teasing. You don't say.
He's flashing around
I can't unmute him. You can.
Oh, okay. Hold on, wait. Well, didn't you mute him?
I did, but now I can't unmute him.
And unmute yourself. I can't unmute him either.
Okay.
There you go. There you go.
Did it again. I did it again.
Okay. Now can y'all hear me?
We can hear you now, buddy. We can hear you now.
Okay. Here's the deal: is I just got, and y'all were showing y'all's deck, and so I was just going to show mine and everything like that. But I'm not as experienced with this as y'all are. It seems like. That's all I was going to say.
Okay, it's still beautiful. Any questions from the live chat? Anything that you would want us to address before we do our salutations and good nights? I would love to hear Sam Shadowzone Productions take on our 3-card pull. See what he had to say. We'll maybe have to get him on some other time. We invited him on tonight, but unfortunately he couldn't make it. I know he's getting over some sickness.
I would like him to come on, and we should do an updated radionics box construction, how to, like an interactive one. I'd love to.
Okay, there you go. That's on the to-do list. We gotta get. Oh, and I got Jerry. My hat's off to you. Thank you so much for getting John on the show. That was a very, very good realm of.
I can get it back, and you want. I'll tell him you want to do a one-on-one or whatever. Yeah,
absolutely.
He's been making the circuit lately, so yeah.
Beautiful,
not the manager or anything. I just know where he's at.
Wonderful. We'll give him that good word and just let him. And my thanks to you, because whether or not he comes back or not, you got him on for that moment of truth. And I think that was a worthy exploration and a very good conversation we had there.
Anytime, sir.
There you go. Thank you. So with that, there you go. Beautiful, beautiful. Thoughts on Stellar? I mean, thoughts on Stellar. For people don't know, it's like, here's my take on Stellar, and I'll throw it then to the chat. Is on Stellar, for people who don't know, it's supposed to be a Facebook alternative, basically social media for quote unquote our little neck of the woods, for the conspiracy, spiritual disclosure, ascension group of people. We've seen this tried before by guys like Alex Jones. It never works. Say what you want. You could think that Facebook is a CIA construction, but what makes something a hit and something a miss? A lot of it's a mystery. I don't believe in all overarching conspiracy, so I believe that what made Facebook a success was adoption by the people, whether it was started by the FBI or not. If the people didn't show up and come, it wouldn't have happened. The same thing with YouTube. What makes a particular particular video streaming site successful and another one a failure? I don't know. But when lightning strikes, and it struck YouTube. So people are talking about DTube or Steemit or other alternatives. Good luck with that. The people stay where they stay and they go where they go, and you can't make them go, and you can't artificially make a Facebook. First of all, our world is too small. And then when it comes to OnStellar, you have all this bullshit with this like pseudo cryptocurrency model that they have with the tokens that I just don't think is going to go anywhere. I think its adoption sucks, and it's still in a beta, right? And my understanding is they're still trying to have people sign up, and they still don't have video hosting last time I checked, or anything like that. Anyone else on Stellar? No.
I'm going to check it out. I've never heard of it. I mean, I've heard of it, but I thought for some reason I thought it was connected to the stars thing, which is halfway connected to Sphere Alliance.
Well, no, I mean it's the guys that were pushing it first were the guys that I associate with promoting it and pushing it have always been Sphere Beat Alliance. It's been Jimmy Church, David Wilcox, and Corey Goode.
Is Jimmy Church is somebody that spread a bunch of disinfo too?
Well, if you consider Corey Goode disinformation, you consider David Wilcox disinformation. Jimmy Church came along. He's one of the alternating hosts for Coast to Coast AM. And he also has his own radio show called Fade to Black.
Yes, I'm aware of that.
So and he got full on involved with Corey Goode, and it's one of these things. But like I said,
he started getting behind Corey Goode.
Oh, big time! You better believe it, sister. He got full on behind Corey Goode.
So transparent. I mean, it's like embarrassing.
Tell me about it. Have you heard about this guy?
You know what I mean?
I agree. You're preaching to the choir.
Yeah, and it's really you got to think about a lot of this stuff, because your credibility's on the line and shit.
There you go. It is what it is, baby. So so with that, I mean, look, we had a great conversation tonight. The last one of these that we did, the first volume of It Takes a Village to Start a Dumpster Fire, was a very heady exploration. It got very, not even esoteric is the word. It's just very philosophical. Are you your card table is gonna be hating you in the morning?
Who, my card table?
No, your card table's got a. Is your dog offended? Like, does your dog like that sound? Be careful.
Oh, it's a log.
There you go. Oh, God, great. Just a log. That's what she said. Anyway, so it was very, very philosophical. We got very into the nitty gritty of like what's the nature of the real and how do you know things.
Asking some hard questions too. It's a cognition serious.
But today's we did a lot of good work here today. It ended up being a mystery show. We finally got Ayin on, and that's when things got really excited. We got John on. John was a fantastic contribution
until he got mad and left.
I don't think that was.
No, I know. I'm just kidding. He didn't get mad.
I'll share this with you, John. John King, when he gets excited, he experiences electrical effects nearby.
And I'll never say that that's bullshit. I will never say that that's bullshit.
Yeah, and I flat out believe it. So that kind of shows the whole spectrum right there from not, just because I kind of want to. I mean, I don't know anything about his electrical situation, but
he's out in the garage or something.
Yeah,
he's on a Wi-Fi router. He probably blew it out again. It happens a lot. It's not the first.
The one thought I'd like to say is this: there's this old saying that says, if they can find one white crow, then that proves that not all crows are black. And so the question I want to know, and this is just an opinion, is do you think in the whole history of the world there's ever been one case of a demonic possession? Or what would be, or what the science or technology at the time would consider a demonic possession, up to and including alien abductions, anything? Do you think there's ever been a possession or an abduction?
Yes.
Okay.
I agree too.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, one is all it takes. It doesn't matter if it's 10 million years ago. That's just, that's the question I want to ask. Okay. Thank you.
I can answer that question intuitively. Yeah. I'd say yes.
But I will tell you all this. I am faster and faster and further getting away from the idea of UFOs as nuts and bolts craft. And I can also tell you that the Paracas people, which definitely are not human, they're not a paper mache skeleton either. But I've been right there with those bones. But I refute the idea that these people were going around in UFOs simply because. Why are you going to be sitting around weaving baskets and stuff like that and then get into your UFO? It doesn't make any sense. I mean, these are relatively primitive people. But that being said, however they made those temples where it does look like it's some kind of technological stuff. They were just giant, blocks of advanced concrete being poured. I mean, we're talking each one's as big as a house. I mean, it blows away anything in Egypt or anything. So, there's just a lot of mysteries in the world. That's all I've got to say.
Okay. No, absolutely true. DG, any final thoughts, closing thoughts for us, baby?
I mean, it's hard to really sum anything up. It was a great conversation. I really enjoyed talking to Aiden. It was a lot of fun. Let's see. I can't really. I mean, we got into too much. It was good to have Reemsy here. I mean, we had so much balance in this conversation. It was just a great night.
I agree.
And Jerry, I hadn't been on stream with you in a while.
Good to see you too, man. Sir. Should come on a hive sometime.
Definitely.
Yeah, take the moment to plug the hive. Jerry Cthulhu. Subscribe to Jerry Cthulhu's channel. I got to update. It bothered me about this, Jerry. I got to edit my video description to also include your channel and Reemsy's channel at this point. Greg, my brother, any final thoughts, summations, ideas?
Thank you for having me on. It's always a fun and surreal thing on your channel. Most of the time, I don't have a lot to talk about because I don't know what you all are talking about. But I always have a nice time when I'm here, and I thank you for having me. And I wish everyone a very happy Walpurgis tomorrow night.
There you go. All right. Well, listen, I gotta tell you, if you were feeling on the outside looking in because you didn't know what we were talking about, don't worry because we have no idea what we're talking about either.
Yes. Sometimes I'm just really lost. Like what?
Hey, join the club.
I would like to make one final request, and that's just a request to everyone who hasn't seen any of my Ghost Light Road videos. Please just go to my channel. Watch my Ghost Light Road videos because the footage is footage that I personally took, and I'm the only person on the face of the earth that I know of that has filmed the entities within the craft. And let me tell you, it blew me away. I mean, this is old video. It's just been incubating, but even though I've had it on, I don't know why it hadn't gone viral, but I mean,
what are they?
I've filmed. Listen, and you stop.
It's a good video.
There's little aliens inside of there. They look just like the little aliens on the cartoon and shit. A little bit different. Their heads are actually kind of long. But I mean, I've got this shit on film and video. It's the most jaw-dropping shit you've ever seen. Check it out.
I do recommend those videos. I recommend everything. I recommend you subscribe to Anthropos' channel and see what he does next. His output is what it is, and I think it's beautiful. Check it out. Absolutely. Failed. You joined us late into the conversation, man. I hope you had fun with us for the time that you were here, man. And we've got Alex Jones.
He's muted.
And he's muted. There you go. Hey, probably he's going to come back. He's going to be from going to the restroom. He's going to be like, oh, they're done. Final thoughts. So there you go. So it is what it is, brothers and sisters. I think with that, what we're going to do is we're going to wrap it up. It's coming up at 1:30 is good enough for time 13. It's a Walpurgis night. You might as well end on the old magical 13. Wherever you are, you might be in different time zones. It might be slightly different. But April 30th, 2018, coming in, and we're coming in together. That's what she said. Anyway, folks, love you. Thank you all for tuning in. We can see we got 47 viewers. Even at this late hour, we got 47 viewers, which is beautiful.
That's awesome, man. That's great, man.
Oh,
47
I love
viewers,
it.
yeah.
Listen, I'd rather have 47 viewers than 47,000. That's a lie. But the fact of the matter is this, is at this stage of the game, we could still call ourselves a community. We could still have inside jokes at multiple times. So all the people in the live chat, greatest potential, Jeff, Hexavalent Chromium, Shadow Zone, Xenomorph, Lunar Sparkles, everyone, Lee Veltman, and Brandon Young, Lady Zaga. Thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you all for coming out and being part of the show. Yeah, just everyone who's ever been here and ever was. If I didn't mention you by name, that's Divine Michael. Everyone, God bless you. God bless you.
Thanks, y'all.
Mario Heat, Esoteric, all the classics, all the classic people. You're all beautiful folks. You're all beautiful folks. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for getting all Xenomorph. If I didn't mention you again, yada yada. Craig Kloger, always hanging out, always beautiful. Everyone's so beautiful. Everyone's so wonderful. And thank you all for coming in and being part of the show, being with you. If it's all for you, remember your community. The solution to all mainstream media, the problems with mainstream media, is not alternative media. It's Joseph Wildman. Thank you, always. God bless you. God bless you. It's not alternative media. It's no media. It's people talking, having fun, having a grand old time. Hey, it is what it is. I'll probably be taking tomorrow off, or at least certainly in the morning, because we're up here late at night. But I'll be out giving more hits, making more content, and making more videos, because that seems to be what the data god wants. And that's what we're trying to do here. Who's going to be on next? Where's the conversation go? We don't know, but we know this much for this much. If the God willing, the creek don't rise, we'll be here next Sunday for another It Takes a Village to Start a Dumpster Fire. And this one is already burning out. God bless y'all. Take care, folks. We'll see you later. Love you.